We are broadcasting live.
So good morning, everyone. This is the meeting of the Town of Mono Council on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, being held both in chambers and by means of electronic participation as permitted by Section 238, subsection 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, and the town's procedural bylaw 2020-42. Residents can either watch this meeting contemporaneously or view it later on through our website. We do have a quorum today. Location of the emergency exits for everybody's benefit is behind the council chamber, and members are free to declare pecuniary interest at this point in the meeting or at any point in the course of the meeting, followed up in writing to the clerk. Go ahead.
I'm declaring an indirect conflict of interest on item number 6-5. 6-5, as I'm a member of the Headwaters Stream Committee.
Thank you. We would like to begin respectfully acknowledging that the town of Mono resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Teotante, Adawadaran, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. We also acknowledge that the town of Mono resides within the treaty lands named under Treaty 18, the Nottawasaga Purchase of 1818. These traditional territories upon which we live and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection with Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. I have a motion that Council approves agenda. The agenda for session 6-2025 is circulated. Moved by Councillor Capes, seconded by Councillor Mangtalo. Any discussion? Any opposed? And that motion is...
Discussion, please?
Yes, please. Councillor Capes.
Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. I wonder, maybe it's too late, if we could add a discussion regarding developers who are inquiring about wind turbines and solar farms. I want to understand the proper protocol and procedure and contacts, etc. And also we need to talk about where do these fall under planning and the town of Mono's desire to have these infrastructures implemented anywhere in our town.
Can we do that under new business?
Can we?
I'm asking. Fred, any suggestions?
If you wish to add something to new business, though no one will have had obviously an opportunity to prepare for the discussion, but it's council's option.
I think that the discussion should go to the issue of what happens when one of us is approached and what is the proper response in those circumstances. I think we should leave the overall issue of whether we are for or against to another day. Councillor Davey?
I thank you for that. I thank you for that. I just don't like people coming and asking these questions and then it not being public, so.
Yeah, Councillor Davey?
Public now.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no, I think it's a much larger discussion, it sounds like Councillor Capes is interested in, and I think the logistics of if somebody contacts you, I think that's fairly standard, that if they're interested in something, then they need to discuss it with planning and so on. I mean, I think we can get an easy answer to how that email that it went to everybody, how it should be addressed. I think that's an easy one. The larger discussion of whether Mono wants it and what happens and everything is not something that can be added to an agenda on the fly.
And yeah, I don't think we can add the larger discussion to the agenda today, but we can certainly talk about how we respond when we are recipient of email or phone calls.
That would be very good. Thank you very, very much.
Anything else on the motion? And the motion is carried. I have a second motion that council approves the minutes of session 5-2025 as circulated. Councillor Mangtalo moves, seconded by Councillor Capes. Any issues with the minutes as circulated? Any opposed? And that motion is carried. We have a couple of of proclamations. The first pertains to World Autism Day, whereas World Autism Day is recognized on April 2nd, 2025 in Canada. Autism Ontario is one of the largest collective voices representing the autism community, and the work we do helps all autistic individuals and families in their communities have access to meaningful support, information, and connections, not only on April 2nd, but every day throughout the year. And whereas autism impacts more than 135,000 individuals in Ontario, representing 1 in every 50 Canadian children and youth, it not only influences the lives of autistics, but also their friends, families, and communities. It is critical for us to raise awareness and acceptance, provide support, and promote a more inclusive society. And whereas autism is a diverse spectrum that varies widely among individuals, each person's experience with autism can change over time. This evolving journey highlights the uniqueness of every autistic individual, emphasizing the need for understanding and support to their specific needs. And whereas Autism Ontario is a leading source of information and referral on autism, and since 1973 has been providing support, information, and opportunities for thousands of families and individuals across the province. And whereas Autism Ontario is devoted to raising public awareness about autism and addressing the everyday challenges faced by individuals with autism, their families, and professionals who work alongside them, we encourage everyone to recognize and celebrate unique differences and needs of others, fostering an inclusive environment where all individuals can participate fully in activities and discussions. Together we can create a society that values and includes everyone. Therefore, on behalf of Council, I do proclaim April 2nd, 2025 as World Autism Day in the town of Mono, while committing to embrace awareness and acceptance today and every day throughout the year. And that's dated and signed today's date.
Thank you for that.
Second proclamation has to do with Sikh Heritage Month, whereas the Sikh Heritage Month Act 2013 proclaimed the month of April each year as Sikh Heritage Month in Ontario, and whereas the month of April was chosen as it is an important month to the Sikh community, and whereas proclaiming Sikh Heritage Month, the province recognizes the important contributions that the Sikh Canadians have made to Ontario's social, economic, political, and cultural fabric. And whereas the Sikh Heritage Month is an opportunity to remember, celebrate, and educate future generations about Sikh Canadians and the important role they have played and continue to play in Mono and communities across Ontario. Therefore, on behalf of Council, I do proclaim April 2025 as Sikh Heritage Month in the town of Mono and invite residents to join Council at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, April 1st to raise the Sikh flag at Town Hall. And that's dated and signed today's date. And that brings us to public question period. Mr. Clerk.
Your Worship, excuse me, we have 3 questions that were submitted online in advance for this morning. And the first question asks if the town of Mono has a rain barrel program in order to promote water conservation.
And do we have a rain barrel program to promote water conservation?
So we talked about this during our climate group when they were existing, and Dufferin County has a similar program that residents could apply to and work through. But the town of Mono at this time does not have one running. We have the basis for it and how to run it, but that was never put forward to council this year.
So any resident of Mono should approach the county for potentially a rain barrel?
Actually, I'd like to follow up with, you get the name of the person, Fred? I'd like to follow up with this resident after I did a little bit of research on that matter.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yep.
Fred?
The next question asks if the town of Mono maintains data on how many people attend public events in order to assess whether this is money being well spent.
Okay, Kimberly.
Good morning. Yes, we do look at a number of things after every event, and after every event, it is reviewed with the Recreation Advisory Committee. We go over the pros, the cons, we go over how much money was spent, we go over what the attendance was. And then from there, we make decisions as to what would make the event better or whether to even go forward with it. In addition to that, there's also on our budget page, on the programming page, you'll see where there's the revenues versus the expenditures to let us know how much each individual program makes or does not make. And in addition to that, there are the checks and balances that the RAC committee does go through, such as for Make Mono Shine. This year, we've chosen a different approach for Make Mono Shine as to having the event because we felt that the attendance for that event versus the amount of money that was put into the event wasn't a good way to spend taxpayers' dollars, so we've got a different approach for that event this year. So we do a lot of checks and balances for our events.
Thank you. Melinda, on behalf of the RAC committee, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Kim hit it off, and I just thought that I'll make note in my report to talk about how we are going to do Make Mono Shine this year as an example, but no, I think she hit all the points. We clearly follow what the community wants is the plan, right? Come up with ideas, and then if people are not interested, then we don't keep hammering going forward with them. We don't waste money.
Any further comments on this? I'd just say that if there are any events that people think we should reconsider or abandon or reconfigure, we're open to those suggestions, and we're also open to suggestions of new events that might capture the imagination of the community. Okay. Fred?
The last question, Your Worship, refers to recent events that were in the news regarding a hate crime in Ajax, and it asks, does the town of Mono have any safety protocols to ensure the safety of citizens with respect to Islamophobia?
Mike, do you have any thoughts on security of our facilities and whether we've had any incidents?
To the best of my knowledge, there's been no incidents as with respect to the requirement for security for such matter. We've never had any incidents. And if there is an issue where somebody feels that they're being mistreated or as identified in Mr. Hussein's question, OPP are definitely the people that should be contacted for issues of such.
Ralph?
We do have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and their work is it's a very broad, difficult area in many respects, but it involves the issues of acceptance of diverse communities, whether they're religious or they're ethnic or they're gender-related, etc. And the committee would be very interested in hearing about any problems that anybody experienced in the Islamic community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that goes for anything that could approach being described as a hate crime, which has a very specific meaning under the criminal code, and I understand the incident in Ajax is being investigated by the local Crown's office for the possible laying of charges to that end. From media accounts, what happened there was absolutely deplorable and very, very troubling. Again, allegations, but on the face of it, something to be very concerned about. Are there any questions from the gallery today? Are there any questions online? Okay, seeing none. We have no delegations. First item then after that is the unfinished council business list. And I think we're going to be in a position to maybe reduce the size of that list today, depending on how the discussions go. Especially when first reading is indicated, and once that's come and gone, maybe the item can drop off the list.
I'm assuming, Your Worship, you're referring to the proposed backyard chicken bylaw. So the status would change in that first reading had been given, but I don't think the item would drop off because it still goes through a process.
Okay, and the other issue that we're discussing today are county building services, and maybe that can be reconsidered for inclusion on the list, again, depending on how the debate goes.
You want to put it on so you can take off?
Well, I'm just trying to shrink the list because it indicates progress is being made. Any comments on the list or how it's currently constituted? Okay. Next item is the Heritage Advisory Committee, and it has to do with a recommendation to council. Would you like to address the Heritage Committee? Barbara, good morning.
Barbara Javlis, Chair of the Heritage Committee. We reviewed the South Huron resolution and at great length. I think it's worth the support. If you've read our summary, the question that I have and that I think is important is that if a property is on a zoning bylaw, a zoning application, it would eliminate us designating the property. So therefore, considering that, I guess, for example, the zoning application on the second line, there's a barn and there's also a house. This would prohibit us from designating it if indeed it had already gone to the clerk's office for rezoning. I think it's important. I mean, we're looking at 349 listed properties in Mono, which I think is extraordinary considering that there's only 3,000 plus single-family homes. And we will have to eliminate our list as of 2027. So I'm looking at, with the cooperation of the committee, of coming up with a way of retaining the registry so that we can still comply with the Heritage Act and still have record of these properties. Is there any questions on our resolution? No?
So as I understand it, it basically freezes the registry. It doesn't allow us to add any more to the registry, but it maintains the registry as opposed to demolishing the registry.
No, if you don't, the registry will be eliminated officially.
Okay.
So if we can come up with a way of having a quasi-list of designated property or proposed designated properties that we can keep in perpetuity. I suppose we can always do this through minutes because your bylaws that have been passed, I think in 2019, lists the entire 341 with a few that have been removed at council's request. But I think this is well worth the consideration. Any questions from anybody? Ralph?
I'd like to ask the clerk to respond to this. Is there a mechanism that we could use?
Councillor Mankell, if you mean a mechanism to maintain some kind of record as was suggested, I think the town could probably institute something. We can't go against, of course, the act, so we can't impose any restrictions where the registry currently imposes a restriction in that we can delay a demolition permit until the town's had an opportunity to consider that property for designation. So that wouldn't be able to be done. But maintaining a record of these properties, I don't see a problem with that.
If I may ask, Barbara, so this is a list of properties that were designated as listed? That was-
No, listed. We have, I think now 16 properties that have been designated, and they are included in that list. It's just a compilation of every property that we think is of some sort of his heritage value.
I think I understand that, maybe. So you'd like to maintain the list, the list of those that's listed for some possible future use, although it wasn't officially available as a municipal list. And that's what you're suggesting would be possible, Fred, is that right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, so is that going to do what you'd like? Is that
It's
gonna
going to
accomplish?
help.
Yeah.
I think the important part of this resolution is when a property has been slated for rezoning and it contains, and it's already been registered, Fred, correct me if I'm wrong, with I guess Deferred County or the town of Mono, and we find out that there are heritage properties on it, we will not be able to designate them after that rezoning application has been made.
This is because of subsection 29.
For example, in
1-2.
Brampton and Caledon, there have been rezoning applications where they have contained heritage buildings, and the municipality has asked the developer to retain these buildings for for future for future reference. I'm sorry, I'm mucked up here a bit. I think that is an important factor, that it has to come off. And I know that we're under a new minister, and unfortunately, he is from Brampton. The new Minister of Community and Multiculturalism is a gentleman called Graham McGregor, and I think that he's aware, being in Brampton, of the importance of retaining properties.
Can I continue?
And then Melinda?
So I think we're talking about two different things here, and they're both of importance to the Heritage Committee. One is maintaining an informal list, and the other is dealing with subsection 29 1.2, which is the municipality of South Hearn is proposing to the province that they consider an amendment. And are you supporting that proposal? That your
Our intent was that we request council to support the resolution proposed by South Huron.
right?
And
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect. Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Barb, for bringing this. The Heritage Committee never ceases to amaze at how keen you guys are. And I think it's extremely important work. I think it's an uphill battle. I mean, it's great that there's a new minister because there's somebody new, but he's not coming in without knowing the mandate of, we build more homes and build millions of homes across Canada now, right? So I think anything that we can do to bring attention to our 349 registered properties ultimately would be a good thing if we get some time, right? I mean, that's the point, that it's always up for the possibility of change, and the Heritage Act is obviously changing. So I certainly support your request, and hope that the new minister listens to us.
Elaine?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is critical. Having the registry has allowed heritage committees over the last how many years to identify the culturally heritage value homes that we would at some point want to designate. It allows people who are purchasing, if they're coming in to purchase these homes, to understand that this is a significant heritage cultural valued property. If the registration is gone, that will never be brought to the forefront. And so we will possibly lose the opportunity for designation for that property forever. And so it is critical. The registry is there to show us the inventory of all culturally valued heritage buildings that Mono has that could be at some point designated. And as Barb said, and Fred also said, it will also, taking them off the list will also never be consulted to the Heritage Committee for whether they intend to designate this home now or in the next few years, and it can be demolished, and then it's lost forever. So it's very critical. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to call on council to consider moving a motion to support the... Okay. And second, moved by Councillor Mangtilo, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nix. I just say about the new minister, he is known to me, having been the Associate Minister for Auto Theft and Bail Reform. If you can believe it, there was a ministerial initiative in those two areas. And so he's been promoted. He's now a full minister, and I've heard good things about him, so I live in some hope. So we have a motion on the floor to support the recommendation of the Heritage Advisory Committee, the advice, pardon me, Fred?
Your Worship, would you mind reading the motion for the record?
Okay. I think it's, okay.
And there is one, Your Worship.
Yeah,
in your
therefore be it
package.
resolved that the town of Mono requests the province to reconsider the amendment to subsection 29 1.2 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and that this motion be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, MPP Sylvia Jones, and Association of Ontario Municipalities of Ontario, copied of this resolution and forward to all municipalities for their advocacy.
That's slightly different than what was recommended, Your Worship, but if that's the motion we want to put on the floor.
That appears to be the final words of the report.
There is a prepared resolution, if
Oh.
you wish.
My apologies. Let's have a look at that. I'm going to read the prepared resolution to see if there's any daylight between the two. The Council for the Town of Mono supports and endorses the resolution passed by the municipality of South Huron calling on the province to reconsider the amendments to subsection 29 1.2 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Which motion should we go with?
That's a little more precise.
I don't really care.
Okay,
for the second
so
one,
let's
it's fine.
withdraw the motion on the floor, and same mover and seconder for the prepared motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further comments? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you again for the work you do on that. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a deputy clerk. Request by Mark Early to be appointed deputy clerk for purposes of conducting civil marriage for a family member. And we have the esteemed Mark Early with us here today. Does council require any any background on this?
I think so. Is there a criminal track on this man?
Well, yes, Councillor Davy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I read it, and I can't tell, being on the interweb here, that Mark is there. Hello, Mr. Early. So I read this, and I have to say that I'm confused, and so I would like to hear, because I think perhaps the public might be confused about this as well.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm fine with what we're intending to do, what the motion is. What I'd like to know, is there a time limit? Why is there no time limit in the motion? Or have I misread it?
There is.
So there's, the motion directs to a bylaw, and in the bylaw, there are stipulations to place limits on the appointment.
Okay. I didn't want Mark to be here forever.
Nor does Mark.
Mark, do you have anything you'd like to tell us about the circumstances?
Sure. My son approached me. He's getting married this summer. I'd been approached by other good family friends, so there is a timing in the bylaw, goes to the end of September from July, and it is permitted under the Municipal Act. I think it's something that goes back 70, 80 years, when the small hamlets and communities had part-time clerks and treasurers and tax collectors, sorry, not treasurers. And so it is permitted. I used to do officiate marriages when I was a clerk and a deputy clerk, and I had always maintained that even when I was in the position of CAO as a deputy clerk. So and that is the reason. So, and good morning, Councillor Capes and Davy.
And the marriage process is actually quite interesting, because I was able to officiate at marriages for 15 years, and when I retired, I lost that ability, as you lost the ability when you retired from the clerk's position. And there is language you must use, or else the marriage is not legal. There are documents you must sign, or else the marriage is not legal. So it's an acquired skill. Councillor Capes?
For some reason, the council chamber camera keeps flashing on and off. I don't know what that is. Welcome, Mark. It's nice to see you, even if it's only, the back of your head that I get to see. Yeah, so the camera is flashing on and off the council chambers.
We'll try and attend to it.
Right, and I do want to say, well, Kim, he's taken away your business.
Can we?
Yes, Councillor Davy?
Thank you. I understand about the marriage, and I guess, I mean, I too, when I retired from medical practice and my license, I would have liked to have been able to prescribe antibiotics, but, you're retired. So, in that respect, I'm not quite clear on how this goes about. And in the letter that you sent, Mark, it talks about, that you're going to do something for us in return, and I think that for the public, that's a little muddying the situation. So we have somebody who has had a position with Mono and is requesting to have it back temporarily for some personal reasons. And in your letter, you only said one wedding, and when I read it and you said there were others, I thought that meant that you had done other family members in the past, and so the son really wanted to be included in that group going forward as a memory. But now you're saying that in actual fact you wanted to go for beyond just July the 15th or 1st or wherever you said his date was, to actually be in September, or so that's a 3 month. That's 3 months. Because you have other things that you're wanting to do in this capacity?
Mark, go ahead.
Councillor Davy, so what happened was, no, the original request was just for my son, And 5 minutes, I kid you not, 5 minutes before Fred had called me to discuss the time limit in the bylaw, I had been approached by another good family friend as to whether I could also do their son. So I said, the timing is right. I can talk to Fred and I could talk to council, and so here I am. The other part of your question was what was alluded to in my letter. I didn't spell it out because I wasn't quite sure where it was going with your staff. I know that we've been approached, or council or staff have been approached in the past about allowing others to do this, just come in from the community and seek council's blessing to be appointed deputy clerk. So I recognize that there should be some quid pro quo here. And you've just appointed some new committee members to Committee of Adjustment, so I'm going to sit down with them. I think we've already arranged it at a staff level. It's already publicly out there that I'll be attending that as a training program for your Committee of Adjustment, just to give them some background as to how all of the planning documents in the town come together and what their duties are and what their responsibilities are as a committee.
And so thank you very much. But that would be, but what you're saying is that because we had discussed that we would contact to ask whether perhaps we could use your knowledge, you're saying that you're going to be doing that in this capacity as deputy clerk? If it weren't for this, and so you'll only be doing that between now and September, and
Well, if I can, I think quite separate and apart from the request for deputy clerk studies for purposes of the marriage, we probably would have approached Mark, and I think we're thinking about approaching Mark for purposes of training of the new members of the Committee of Adjustment. So I think the two really should be looked at quite separately.
that's my point, Mayor. And because I think that publicly it was mentioned that in a meeting by our CAO that he would be reaching out. That is what he said in the meeting, that he would be reaching out. So it's already out there in the public that we were going to ask the retired CAO to if there was any input he would have. So that's where I'm saying that the letter and that is now on the public record, and as you know, then minutes. I mean, this is why we're doing this, filming it, so that people can understand and have a fuller understanding than just the printed page and the resolution at the end, right?
Well, I think
my point is that they are completely separate, and that this deputy clerk position, as the bylaw says, is for the purpose of being an officiant, right?
And it doesn't require deputy clerk studies to do education with our committees. Councillor Capes?
I just want to say again, I have no camera view of council chambers.
Nor
Melinda, can you see council?
do we at the present time, so I believe the problem is being worked on.
Oh, okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that.
Okay, I have a motion, if there's no further questions or comments, that we introduce and give the necessary readings to a bylaw to appoint Mark Early as deputy clerk for the town of Mono, that it be signed by the mayor and clerk for the town of Mono, sealed and engrossed in the bylaw book. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Magdalene moves, seconded by Councillor Capes. Any further discussion?
With the clarification that it is to officiate marriage ceremonies and nothing else, no other
That's-
deputy clerk duties.
That's the understanding, Fred?
It's actually in the bylaw.
It's in the bylaw.
Yeah, so just reiterating that point, the bylaw puts very specific limitations on the authorities of this appointment, and it says specifically that it is to solemnize marriages under the Marriage Act.
Yeah.
And that no other duties and powers of the clerk under the Municipal Act or any other act are being conferred.
Councillor Davey?
Okay, and is that part of the
sorry.
motion that you just read? Sorry.
No, it's part of the bylaw.
No, but is that bylaw referred to in the motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank
It
you.
is readings to a bylaw to appoint Mark Early as deputy clerk. Then when you go to the bylaw and you read it, you see the particulars. Councillor
Right,
Davey?
as long as the bylaw is explicit. That's great,
It
thank
is.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, it
Councillor.
is. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, it is. And that's, all I'm saying is that there was just a juxtapose between the bylaw that was very specific and carved out, and this letter, which talked about a whole lot of other things. So, which I understand has to be public. So Mark, when you wrote it to the councillors, I understand that. My next question, which I didn't get to before we put the, but maybe we've got the motion on the floor anyway, is what is this for the future of, hey, I just saw on the YouTube that I could officiate by being a deputy clerk. Like, wow, I'm going to sign up too. Are we going to have, like, how, just, is this a regular thing that, that we're wanting to encourage people to come and do now that we've?
Absolutely,
now that
absolutely not. And as I explained, there are certain things you must do in your capacity as an officiant. It's not something that you can just go and make up a set of vows. There has to be language within those vows that is very specific to the Marriage Act. And there is documentation that has to be filled out. So it's not, nobody should get the idea that they can have that they can become a marriage officiant without either going through a course, which marriage officiants do now, or who have had training in the past to properly perform marriages. So we just simply say no. I mean, we've got a marriage officiant on staff. We have deputy clerks on staff, and this is a special request that I'm hopefully we will approve, and I'm delighted to see Mark come back as deputy clerk for this purpose only, and for purposes of our education of the Committee of Adjustment members. Okay, can I call the question? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Okay. Backyard chicken bylaw, first reading. Fred.
Your Worship, as mentioned in the report, it details both how we got to this process, where Council did receive a request from a resident. Council then asked the Planning Committee to look into this, and the Planning Committee came back with a detailed report on what they thought would make for a good backyard chicken bylaw. They recommended that it be a trial. And that's important, because if it's not a trial, then the town zoning bylaw must be amended to affect this change. So as long as it's a limited time trial, the zoning bylaw doesn't need to be amended. Once the trial ends, if council wishes to then carry on with this program, a zoning bylaw amendment would be needed at that time. The vast majority of the recommendations by the committee are incorporated into this bylaw, with a couple of minor exceptions as detailed in the report, and why staff are recommending a few tweaks to what was presented by the committee.
Okay, Fred.
Yeah, I'm fine with the bylaw, but I must say my initial reaction is that it's too bureaucratic. I mean, and $100 a year for 4 hens, that's $25 a chicken for, no. And then all the details on the size of the coop. I know you've followed other bylaws to get this in there, and I understand that, and I will go for it. But I do think this is heavy-handed. I mean, if we're going to allow chickens in the backyard, the bylaw should just say that. And anyway, that's my comment. Fred, you did a good job. I'll go for what you've got here, but my goodness, this is heavy-handed.
And if I may, some of the reasoning behind some of the things were to, A, ensure that we have the authority to pull a license if the hens aren't being kept in a manner that is going to reduce the impact on neighbors.
Yeah, I know.
And also the ability to ensure that licensing hens doesn't incur a cost to the general taxes.
I I understand all that. That's why I'm.
But to do those requires a lot of words and a lot of legalese to affect those objectives. But this is just a proposal to council, and it's what council is looking for in the way of regulation that,
Ralph, and then Elaine.
I'm happy with the bylaw, but it comes at a very interesting time. This is a time when bird flu is rampant in the United States, and it's pretty bad. So I'll just make a few comments. And bird flu is started down, and I think mostly in Texas, and it's spreading north. A large number of poultry have been culled. The last report I saw was 160 million birds. This is a huge thing. This flu is transmitted from poultry and from dairy cows to humans, and the last statistics I saw was it was less than 100 people, but that's the main avenue. It's not passed from person to person yet, but they expect that will happen because that's a normal mutation process that happens in these. Unfortunately, this is also present in wild birds, and the wild birds coming north will be bringing it with them, and the expectation is that we're going to have a problem here. It's a very infectious, very, very infectious. So the people who are in the business, I only know one of them, who's out of raising poultry. They're really making sure that their biosecurity standards are really up to scratch. That is, nobody walks in and out of this poultry place without all the proper cleaning and changing of clothes and all that sort of thing. I predict it's going to be a big problem for organic poultry raisers, because one of the things about organic is that you have it free range, and so these birds are going to get infected. If there's a need for any action, I'm sure that the Board of Health is going to be doing it, and it's not going to be us, but I just bring that up that this is a juxtaposition of time that's a little bit interesting and maybe problematic. If it is problematic, it'd be very easy for us to attach a little note of information to anybody's application.
Elaine?
Thank you, Your Worship. And that's a very good comment, Councillor Mankdalow. I am okay with how this has been stated with the staff changes. And yes, I think a trial is an appropriate thing. And yes, I think people should be forewarned about bird flu and where, be careful about where they get their hens from and all of that good stuff. So I'm okay with how this is being presented, but if we think that it's prudent to everybody's population health here to bring this back at another date and see when this bird flu gets under control, I'd be supportive of that too.
Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think to Deputy Mayor Nix's points, I think it's got to be heavy-handed, because we're not talking about your neighborhood or my neighborhood. We're talking about the places that it's not zoned at the moment because everybody lives very close, and so neighbors and smell and noise and so on are important. And so then I was also happy to see that it is really not free range. So you have to have your bird contained, and you have to have, it's very generous as to the number of square feet that each little bird needs and everything. So in that respect, you're treating the birds well, but you're not having them presumably exposed to the migratory wild birds that it's my understanding that bird flu is here. We've had it already in Guelph, I thought, right here. It's just that we haven't had the massive culling of commercial operations yet, is my understanding. So it's coming. But at any rate, today we were just wanting to accept this and put it out to public. Is that the plan?
Yeah. And to that end, my only comment is that I think the level 2 consultation is rather over the top. This is a This is something that affects the area, as you point out correctly, Councillor Davey, it affects the areas that are not currently zoned in such a fashion that we're not even involved in poultry, because it's an agricultural activity. So I would be in favor of a level 1 consultation, which is simpler than a level 2. We don't get involved in an online survey, but we do go for, I think, a 30-day period for public comment. Is that not correct, Mr. Simpson?
Your worship, level 1 is intended to try to speed the process along. So 1 month is 1 to 2 months tends to be the goal.
Yeah, but the level 2 involves, work on the website and stuff like that, and I don't think that frankly is necessary. Mike and then Melinda.
Thanks, Your Worship. If I may, for your consideration, what Councillor Davey had said was that as councillors, you do not live in the urban area and you're not aware of the potential concerns. Staff in the Planning Advisory Committee, which 2 members are sitting today, identified this as a very highly volatile situation, potentially in the urban core. Considering the fact that council, I'm hoping council looks at the fact that we have 1 request of well over 1,500 homes that this could potentially affect. The clerk recommended the medium site of engagement, and staff, for council's consideration, staff would identify this as a potentially volatile situation should we proceed.
Well, we have 1 request, and Fred, can you review the experience in Orangeville? I gather they started off as a trial, and have they had any complaints or any volatility in Orangeville?
Yeah, unfortunately, Your Worship, I don't know the details of the public reaction to the bylaw in Orangeville.
I haven't heard of anything myself.
Is it my turn
Councillor
yet?
Davey?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Mayor, I have to disagree. I think, and I have to agree with the report, and I think this is, if there ever was a one that's an easy one to ask a simple question to the public and get it within the month, because what I was thinking was that the level 1 is not much at all, and the level 2 is terrific, but it's still a short window. And so getting the message to the people that, there's a survey and you better answer it. I mean, look at the people don't even go out to vote, right? But this is your neighbor next door. So to flash that their input is important. And I think that it even underscores that this is for 1 request. On the one hand, you seem to be referencing that it's 1, and so it's not going to be a big deal. On the other hand, it's kind of like, well, wait a second, we're going to this big deal for just one request. So I do think we need to have give the public an opportunity to speak on this before we move forward, even if it's a trial.
Councillor Capes?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Councillor Davey. I think we need to take this. This is a big impact for people who live in a small contained zoned area. The lots are not an acre. It's not, I think we need to find out how people are going to feel about this. And so whether you restrict the survey area just to all of those subdivisions, which is fine, because it's not going to impact me where I live, and neither will it impact other people in the rural areas. But in those postal codes in and around that, built-up area, I think we should take the time to ask people what their thoughts are about this. And then everybody knows, and it's been on the agenda, it's been on the unfinished business now for, over a year. So people know about it. And so let's see what people feel about it. And for some reason, I could be wrong, I thought Orangeville did not move forward with having chickens in backyards because of their trial. That's what I was under the impression of.
I'm getting signals here that they are going forward. They're just changing the the way in which I believe it's approved. I think they've amended the application process, or they're eventually amending their zoning such as to allow it. And my concern was exactly that, and that is, as a rural dweller, I have no opinion about this one way or the other, but people filling out a form online, unless they indicate where they live, they are either somewhat impacted, or they're not impacted. And I would hate to see a survey that is skewed by people who are not impacted. Councillor Mantalo and then Councillor Davey.
I think an online survey is open to everybody on the town, and it would be easy to include some non-specific addresses, whether you're rural or you're suburban. I think it's a good idea, John, to do the survey. It gives people a chance more people will know about it, I think. We have an issue with our social media only hitting a few hundred households, I think, and so a lot of people might not hear about this. It also gives you two months rather than 1 month, so I would support going to level 2.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I agree with Councillor Mantalo that this one would be an opportunity for us to hone our survey question skills and have something in there to know that it's, because we don't, that's the other thing about the Facebook group that's got thousands of people on it and so on. They're not necessarily right here, you know, impacted by the things, so that it would be important to try through our questions to hone in to get the answers of the people who are living in our subdivisions. And I think that the people who are living there would welcome that.
Yeah. I've changed my mind.
We've changed your mind.
Any further questions or comments, Fred?
Just going on memory, the Orangeville experiment, their bylaw allows 3 hens, and the draft bylaw here allows 4. It's not a big deal, but why 4?
I've got Orangeville's bylaw up. I thought it was, no, it says 4. Oh, no, sorry, that's 4 months. The 4 hens was as recommended by the planning committee. It was the most common that I saw in the 7 or 8 bylaws that I reviewed thoroughly.
Well, I'm pretty sure Orangeville's only allowing 3, so it's not a big deal, but, okay, I'll draw.
And you are correct. Their bylaw does say 3 hens.
Can I,
Councillor Davey?
just a cute little comment. There's this thing, when you have chickens, there's this thing called chicken math, that once you get a couple of chickens, you want to get some more. So maybe somebody who starts in the subdivision would just, you know, oh, we only need 2, and then having our bylaws say you're allowed 4 would give them an opportunity to get some more.
Okay. Just before I read the motion, I just point out that the individual who made this application, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, and has been held up. So I'm glad to see this finally going ahead. So I have a motion that we introduce and give first reading to a bylaw to regulate and license the keeping of backyard chickens in the town of Mono, and that we assign public engagement level 2 to the bylaw. Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Councillor Capes. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Finally.
One question if I could, because it
Yeah.
says the town of Mono, and should we be more specific? Because does that mean now, like if I, as a rural property owner, I have to get a license to have chickens?
No, it's only that the town is passing a bylaw, and the bylaw is specific to areas that are not zoned for this
Oh,
activity.
yeah, okay, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. No, it's totally, yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's have a, oh, Elaine? Yeah.
First of all, I apologize for being late.
Come on forward, Elaine.
This is a good suggestion.
I thought you were talking to me, because of course I can't see anything that's going on behind
We,
that.
we can't either. We're in the dark, too.
I'd like to ask the council if they would consider putting on the website a suggestion to the residents of Mono that we put flags out at our driveway in support of the anti-Trump movement that's on right now and Buy Canadian. I've noticed that people are putting up the flags, and it's showing the support for Canada and for our residents, and for to buy local.
I was toying with the idea of reopening question period for you because you arrived late. But having said that, can we talk about it under new business?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a 10-minute break, and then we'll resume at 10 past 10. until we're not.
We are back live.
Welcome back, everyone. And the next report on the agenda is the one pertaining to establishing a building permit. And Les, thank you for the report. Well done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before start analyzing if we should move the building department or not, I thought, well, how busy would the building department be? So I thought, well, one way to find out is how much do we collect in development charges? And as you can see, it was for 4 homes and then 1 non-residential development as well. The development charges study, the background study, the planning projection was 15 homes on average. So last year was a slow year. I anticipate this year might be a slow year as well, with people being kind of scared with the tariffs and all that ongoing. So basically, it's your residential and non-residential big development that we collect development charges that a building department would finance itself. All the little things, when I say little things, like storage sheds that require a building permit, pools, decks and that, they're like a lost leader, because the fees for them would be a lot less than the cost of inspecting them. So moving on, right now, we use the county department. People come in, they get municipal approval from the planning department, and once they get that, it goes on to Dufferin County Building Department, and generally, it's hands-off after that. So the building department at the county takes care of it. Council mentioned that the Township of Amaranth, well, as we know, they left the building department and went on their own. They're using the company RSM Building Consultants. They use, actually is a well-known, I guess in the building field, a well-known program, Cloud Permit. More of the building departments are using that. It's a way of applying for a building permit. And this company has their own inspectors, certified people. As you can see in the proposals that they sent, they list the staff that they have. But before we can establish a building department using them, there's initial setup costs. And I just pulled out the ones that kind of stood up really quick, like the big numbers. And the numbers I kind of listed, the total is approximately about $35,000. That doesn't even count the cost that staff will still be involved. We will still be working with them. We have to give them office supplies, like an office space. IT will be supporting them. We have to supply them with a laptop and a cell phone for ongoing, so we could contact them. So that cost will be ongoing. So it doesn't appear that it's a zero cost right off the bat. Now, the whole premise of having your building department is supposed to be self-financing. You can't make money on it, but it has to at least pay for itself. So right off the bat, the initial startup costs probably take a few years to pay back, based on our, residential and commercial type development. So in a nutshell, it does not appear that it's financial feasible to establish our own building department, and that the status quo, work with the county, seems to be the most cost-efficient method.
Okay. Fred?
Yeah,
And then Elaine?
Les, it's a very good report. I had no idea it would cost this much. My reason for suggesting we at least look at it was after talking to people in Amaranth. They seem quite pleased with what they've done, and I just wanted to see if we should also look at it. So you've looked at it, you've come up with the numbers, and I appreciate it, and I'm very happy with your recommendation.
Melinda, then Elaine? Oh, sorry, did I get that? Got that in reverse. Elaine and then Melinda.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Les, for doing this diligence on what it would cost. I find it interesting that in Schedule A, we do have a resolution from Amaranth calling on the removing of planning authority from the county. So, sure, they've got their own thing going on, and now they want to cancel the county's planning authority. And then that's gonna put us right back at, we've gotta supply our own. So it's a good thing that we've done all of this investigative work so that we know what the cost is gonna be. So, I guess I will, make a comment to our county representatives. What is, you know, what is going on at the county with that resolution, and what is the rest of the county council members think? Anyway, thank you.
Can we address that under Schedule A? I'd love to speak to it.
Sure.
I think Fred would as well.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Thank
happy to.
you. I just wanted to thank Les and then point out that that's interesting timing. Thank you.
Melinda?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Les. I wholly support your recommendation that we, stick with the status quo. And to Deputy Mayor Nix's comment, and of course Elaine's as well, the idea that Amaranth, wanted to go ahead on their own because they wanted to go ahead on their own. But the Schedule A comment is that they just don't like what the county's doing. So it's beyond me understanding all of that. So a further discussion will be helpful. But I agree that we should stay. Why would we change what we're doing?
Ralph?
I can't add anything really, except that I agree. Great report, Les, nicely researched. Thank you.
I think part of my motivation in wanting to explore this was the concern about customer service, and whether we were getting an appropriate level of customer service from the county, from the standpoint of the interaction of people seeking building permits, or the question of inspections. I have to give county credit to the fact that recently I think they've actually done a good job on any questions, any issues that I've taken to them, which is commendable. I do have a technical question, and that is, now that we have a development charge for residential that differentiates between sizes of homes, how do we signal that to the county so that when they are in the process of issuing a building permit and collecting the development charge, they know that the residential home is above or below the threshold that triggers an additional cost on DCs?
Well, we collect our own development charges at the planning level. So part of the municipal approval, we do our own collection.
At the municipal approval level?
Yes, so we
it's
get-
not the county when they issue the building permit?
That's correct.
Oh, thank you. That's a heartening response. Okay, if there's no other issues, I have a motion that we receive the treasurer's report titled Building Department Services dated March 19th, 2025. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Capes, seconded by Councillor Davey. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, motion is carried. We have a report on the 2024 annual and summary reports for Cardinal Woods and Island Lake drinking water systems. Matt, would you like to address this?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Krillman and Council. As Council's aware, Public Works brings this report to Council each year. They're prepared annually by the town's operating authority with assistance with the town Mono staff as required under OREG 170-03. They provide a good summary of the details, operating, testing requirements, compliance information regarding the town's operating systems, and help demonstrate the ministry requirements that are being met and any issues that need to be resolved. The annual reports have to be submitted to the public, and completed and submitted to the public by February 28th of each year, and the summary reports need to be received by council by the 31st of March each year. We're not required to take the summary reports to council, or the annual reports to council, but we have in the past each year, and they're also available on the town's website and at the town hall. Mike did bring the Island Lake and Cardinal Woods MEC reports to council late last year and early this year, which discussed a lot of the issues that are in the compliance requirements and whatnot that the ministry brought forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have regarding my report.
Thank you, Fred.
No, surprisingly, I don't really have any serious questions this year. I went back to try to look up sodium for the Cardinal Wood system last year, and I haven't been able to find it. Is sodium still going up in the Cardinal Woods wells? I think it's at, what, 25 milligrams per liter, and I think, I'm going on memory, Mike, I don't know. I think the drinking water standard Canada-wide is, if it's less than 200 milligrams per liter, I think you're okay.
Yeah.
But still, is it still climbing in Cardinal Woods?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Nix. Yeah, it's stabilized. It kind of fluctuates around the 65.6 in the last one here. There's no maximum acceptable concentration for sodium. The aesthetic objective is 200 milligrams per liter. This is at the point which many people will start to notice a salty taste in the water. We were required to report sodium as a AWQI once every 5 years, 57 months, when the concentration exceeds 20 milligrams per liter. So updated information can be provided to the local health unit.
And the other question I had, and again, I tried to look up last year's report, and I just ran out of time, on the Island Lake system. When are we going to have that arsenic thing? We still got arsenic in very low levels, not a serious concern, but we are putting something into that system to reduce the arsenic, are we not? And when will it be fully operational?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Nix. It's stable. We didn't receive any spikes above 10 micrograms per liter in 2024. We are working on the EA right now to look for a solution for the problem. And as we move forward here, we're hopeful to find the end goal of how we treat the arsenic in the water. But right now, the town's operating authority is working with the ministry to treat the system accordingly and take the samples as required quarterly.
But aren't we also doing something to reduce the arsenic levels?
Well, it's when it comes out of the ground and as raw and it interacts with the chlorine in the water, it precipitates out and it settles in the contact chambers. So we do flush the system periodically with a standard operating procedure that the ministry had reviewed and approved with operating authority.
So it's not, 5 years from now, we're still going to have whatever levels we got now, which is below the 10 micrograms per liter. But I thought, I was under the impression that someday we could reduce it down to practically nothing.
With treatment process.
Okay, will we be able to reduce it down lower than?
There are treatments available. There's multiple treatments available. It's depending on the right one for the right system. Island Lake has around 8 micrograms per liter. Coles Well 1 generally exceeds 10 micrograms per liter. It's been since taken offline. I believe in 2018 we took it offline. We do test it periodically to make sure it could be potentially included back into the system once a proper treatment process is determined. Well 2, which is only about 20 feet away from Coles Well 1, is in use all the time, and it generally runs around the 6 to 8 mark micrograms per liter. So the hope is that one day we'll be able to figure that out, and we're working on it right now. And in the interim, we're below, we're in between half MAC and running around 7 to 8 in the Island Lake system.
Yeah, and I should just say to any members of the public who are listening, we're below what's considered the safe level, so it's not a safety issue. It's just that there's a tiny bit there, and we do have to watch it.
Yeah, so it was, just to go back a little bit, this objective was reduced in 2018, January 1st, 2018. It was reduced from 25 micrograms per liter down to 10. I don't know what the ministry is going to be doing and the Health Canada will be doing in the future with potential further reductions of that number, but we're obviously working with the operating authority and the ministry on how we correct the issue moving forward and make sure we're compliant.
Thank you. Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for this report, Matt. Yeah, I think just speaking to that, the arsenic, everything fluctuates, which is why you continue to always be taking samples, right? You can't take a sample and say, oh yeah, that's the way the water is, don't need to sample it again. And so if it's underneath the 10, then we don't need to spend, wasn't it that the systems to actually remove arsenic, if you did have a situation where we were, at 15 and it wasn't budging and we had to do something, it's millions to fix, isn't it? Wasn't the systems very expensive, which is why we were not just forging ahead when it then came down to 10?
Thanks, Councillor Davey. Yeah, any treatment process for removing arsenic is costly because you obviously end up with not only the treatment and the filtration and the cost of the filters and the plant, it's the disposal of the arsenic after the fact. So again, we're looking into all the options. We did have a couple processes a couple summers ago with Walkerton Clean Water, and they did some experiments on different ways of removing it. Mono's not the only municipality dealing with the issue. It's all over the United States. It's overseas. There's other municipalities in Ontario and Dufferin that are up against the same thing. So I think that there's going to be a solution here. It just depends what the right one is for Mono.
Ralph?
Thanks, Matt. Nice reporting as usual. It's nice to see, particularly with the problems we had at Walkerton so long ago. Just one question about disinfection. Our normal disinfection is a secondary process, but one of the wells you use sodium hypochlorite as a primary disinfection. What was the reason for that?
Thanks, Councillor McDelow. So Island Lake uses the primary disinfectant is chlorine, sodium hypochlorite, because they're deep aquifer wells, whereas Cardinal Woods has two wells, MW1 and MW4, that are Goody wells, ground under direct influence, so they require a primary, which is the UV, and the secondary, which is the chlorine. So those are ministry requirements for the well designation.
So I'm just looking at, Matt, to be clear, at the Cardinal Woods drinking water system, where it says that lists all water treatment chemicals used over this reporting period, and the chlorine is given for the single stage primary disinfection at one well, and it's used at as secondary disinfection throughout the distribution system. So it looks like one well has been pulled out of there for special notice.
Sorry, what page are you on?
Take page 2 of 8 under Cardinal.
Yeah, so
Woods.
MW3 is a deep aquifer well, so it doesn't require the secondary treatment.
Okay.
Only MW1 and MW4 on Dufferin Road 16, just west of Hawthorne, are Goody wells, ground under direct influence. So they require the primary UV treatment and the secondary chlorine. MW1 or MW3, which is in the park, is a deep aquifer well and does not require that primary UV treatment.
And is that because the more superficial wells are more prone to infection or contamination?
That's correct.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, I have a motion that Council for the Town of Mono receives the 2024 annual and summary reports for the Cardinal Woods and Island Lake drinking water systems, confirming its adherence to all regulatory standards and operational requirements, and that the town continues its commitment to transparency by making these reports publicly available on the town's website and at Town Hall, ensuring residents have ongoing access to information regarding the safety and reliability of the drinking water systems. Do I have a mover? Councillor Capes moves, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nix. Any further questions, comments? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, next item is the Heritage.
Your Worship, as I announced at the beginning of the meeting, I'm going to declare an indirect conflict of interest on this one.
Okay.
As the deputy mayor is leaving the room, I just want to, because I didn't get the comment in there, to say thank you for that report. And it's always really good to get it. It's very lengthy, it's very detailed, but it just shows you how complicated it is to take care of our water and how much diligence we do put into making sure that the water is safe for our residents. So I'm very grateful for that, so thank you.
Exactly. So Heritage Advisory Committee resolution of advice. Is there a staff member who can speak to this? Headwaters, pardon me.
Sorry, Your Worship, Headwaters Streams
Oh, yes,
Committee authorization to expend funds. I believe that the Streams Committee had a motion that the Headwaters Streams Committee is requesting permission from council to give the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, the MVCA, $2,000 for its outdoor education program. My understanding is that in the future coming months, MVCA will reach out to Mono Amaranth Public School to set up and organize an education program. And the Headwaters Streams Committee would like council's approval to support this. And that would pretty well summarize what the Streams Committee is asking of council today.
Any questions or comments before I read the motion? Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know a little bit more about this. It appears that NVCA has taken the program to Shelburne and other places, and I know there was some discussion about this at our last NVCA board meeting, and I brought up the point that we were sort of at the end of the list and not very often receiving any education. I'm wondering why we have to pay for this. Did Shelburne pay for this? And is this not a program that NBC provides out of their own funding?
I might better shoot that question back to the board member, Councillor Mangtalo. Yeah, I'm not sure on the history of the education. Yeah, I'm not going to make an opinion, but yeah.
I think we should look into that. They have a very active children's education program through the Tiffin Center, which is very well subscribed, mostly by local people. They're brought in by buses, etc. But my understanding is that it's not subscribed to by people from here because they have to go, it's an hour's drive. So we usually do not benefit from the children's education program. And now we're paying $2,000 to benefit from it. So I think we need to ask the question, and I'll pursue that.
Councillor Davey?
Thank you very much. As I recall, previously when Deputy Mayor Nix did not remove himself from the discussions on the Headwaters Streams Committee, he would say that it's just this is the streams money, and it's not our money, it's not town taxpayer money, it's not town money. We just, under the agreement with Headwaters Streams, we administer the money. And this letter indicates that the Headwaters Streams received $2,000 donation from the anglers and hunters, and that the Headwaters, this letter says that the Headwaters is asking us to administer the money, and that, you know, we're going to put it into the public school education program this year, as opposed to other years they have put it into the brook trout, or they've put it into some tree planting by the sides of the rivers, tried to keep it cool for the brook trout or whatever. So I think this is not our money, and it shouldn't be thought that the taxpayers are paying for education that the Ministry of Education should be paying for, which you're right, it should be. But this is a donation from somebody else, and it's just coming through us for the Headwaters Streams Committee.
Yeah. Elaine?
Yeah, thank you, Melinda, for clarifying that for people, and that's exactly what it is. It's the Dufferin Northern Peel Anglers and Hunters who have donated this money with the ask that it be used to support this programming. Now, MAPS, the school in question, is it outside of the NVCA catchment? And that's why it's being paid for with a donation as opposed to coming out of your budget that was set? Mr. Magdalo, representative of the NVCA.
I don't think it is outside. It's on the, it's sort of, there's a dividing line which runs right through the CBM pit. It used to be the CBM pit, just south of the Hockley Road, and everything north of there goes into NVCA, and everything south goes into the Credit Valley. So I think it is a part. And thanks for correcting me. I think that's what you were doing, Melinda. I did say we shouldn't be paying it, but it is being paid. And the question is, why is it being paid? Why is it just coming from NVCA coffers?
Well,
Maybe you could take that back to your board and ask them, or your
I think
staff
that-
that are
yeah.
there.
Mike?
Sorry, Your Worship, just to further answer Councillor Mengtalo and expand on Councillor Davy, the money's being used to extend. The Hunters and Anglers wishes the money to be used to extend the MVCA. So you could read into that the MVCA already has an education program. The Hunters and Anglers would like to donate the $2,000 to extend that. So you could read it as taking it or advancing or expanding. My guess is they're going to walk to the Hockley property and take a look at the demonstration sites that the MVCA has been heavily involved with, the realignment of the stream, the offline pond work, the dam removal, and that would be probably beyond a classroom exercise.
But I think we should take Councillor Mengtalo up on his offer to make further inquiries, because like many other services, and I can think of a few where we pay for a service and there is a educational component, we should be making sure that we are getting our share of that for the monies that we contribute towards the basic service. And I know I'm being cryptic there, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, I have a motion, whereas the Headwaters Streams Committee received a $2,000 donation from the Dufferin North Peel Anglers and Hunters Association with the request that it be used to extend NVCA outdoor educational programming, and whereas NVCA staff, with the assistance of Headwaters Streams Committee volunteers, will deliver programming at Mono Amaranth Public School to grades 6, 7, and 8 pupils. Therefore, be it resolved that Council for the Town of Mono authorize the expenditure of up to $2,000 of the Headwaters Stream Committee's funds to be used towards offsetting the cost for the NVCA to deliver outdoor education programming at Mono Amaranth Public School in 2025. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Mengtalo moves, seconded by Councillor Davy. Any further questions, comments? Any opposed? Oh, Councillor Capes.
Thank you. Given what we just said, do we want to pass this motion now, given that we don't know the full background? So it doesn't really matter, but we can ask the question later. Okay.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead now. Any opposed to the motion? Motion's carried. And to get the Schedule A on the floor, I have a motion that we accept Schedule A to this agenda. Do I have a mover?
Your Worship?
Oh, sorry.
So we've got one new matter of new business that was
right.
added, and there was a discussion, though the agenda has been already adopted, there was the discussion earlier of adding a second new item of business.
Right. So the first item, Fred?
So the first item was proposed by Councillor Capes that council undertake a discussion regarding when developers ask about building solar and wind farms, how council would respond.
Okay. Councillor Capes, if I could rephrase.
It really is, thank you, Fred. It's not how we would respond, but how it is, but it's further in that what is the correct protocol? I don't believe that it's each of us getting these requests and saying anything. I think we should be redirecting them back to the planning department. So that's my question about what is the proper protocol, process, practice that we should be following.
Well, and it goes well beyond solar farms and other things. It goes to any kind of request that ultimately would involve our planning department or our roads department or anyone else for that matter. And my standard answer is, we have staff. Please talk to the staff. They will give you interpretations of our zoning bylaws as an example. I personally do not try to go into too much depth, let alone say what I think of the proposal. I would commend that approach to all members of council, but I'm happy to hear from people as to how they deal with these inquiries.
And that's exactly what I would like to have clarified, so that we all follow the same practice.
Well, in the case of the recent inquiry, I think we were let's put it this way, the inquiry came in to several members of council, either by way of email and/or voicemail or an actual phone call. And of course, that's deliberate in some instances to try and get differing opinions and maybe divide and conquer. I don't know, but if we're all consistent in how we approach these sort of cold calls, as it were, I think that would be a good thing. Mike, did you have some thoughts?
No, I think that you're getting to the process. Whenever you're asked a planning question, a roads question, it's got to come to staff immediately. Unless you're very knowledgeable about our bylaws, but there's no intention by staff at all that council would have to explain to a real estate agent from Toronto where the location of a potential solar farm is. That's a loaded question. It's not in our current zoning bylaw, and the proper process could be gone through staff, and it would save council the potential headache or the potential any potential concerns with respect to that.
Fred?
I agree totally with what the CAO just said. I will point out, I think the most recent incident was when I had a real estate agent from Toronto telephone me, but just to clarify, he had told me he had phoned staff about a week earlier, and they had not returned his call. When I got the call, I sent an email to staff twice, and staff did not respond to my email. I know how busy you were that week, Mike, but I did send you an email saying, hey, I've got this question, and I didn't hear back from you. So to address Elaine's point, when I finally responded, and I did talk to Fred Simpson. I know he's not a planner, he doesn't have a sense of humor, but he is a good guy to talk to. I sent an email very carefully, and I said right in my email that I talked to staff, they told me that it was a complex question, and as I said, remember, as I told you, we don't have a planning director just now, it makes it difficult to get an answer. I am not a planner, so I don't have the competence to answer your question. That's what I told them. But then I guessed that I said I did a quick check of our zoning rural A zone, and it does not have in there a permitted use that says solar farms. That's all I told them, so I said, good luck. I wasn't trying to act like a planner and give him an opinion or an answer on my own merit, okay?
Melinda? And then Elaine?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, I think we get these emails and questions and so on all the time, and it's not just about planning, it's about bylaw enforcement as well. And I think that the answer, I mean, is if the house is on fire, then you can expect to call 911 and somebody's going to pick the phone up. But I think the expectation on our staff what is the expectation? And perhaps we should put that out there in the public here as to when do you get a response back? Do you get a response back in 10 minutes from somebody, or 2 days? Or if it's something that is a esoteric question about what do you think about whatever, is somebody calling you back in a week, or like what is acceptable? I think the jumping when somebody asks you a question, I think to respond to, if you always want to have a response from somebody because you think email needs to be instant, then the email is, yes, I've seen this and I'll get back to you. But when a person gets the appropriate information back is variable, isn't it? I think that a call twice and you didn't answer me back is unfair.
Mike?
Thanks, Your Worship and Melinda. So our customer service policy says that staff will get back or do everything possible to get back to residents, and I clarify residents, within 48 hours. Real estate agents that are not from the area and seeking for something that's not necessarily remotely potentially in the flavor of the residents of Mono, we're anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks out. We are that busy. We try our best. We've created real estate documents to guide through the planning process. What you essentially did should have been done by the real estate agent. Look up the zoning bylaw, see the listed uses. And I will say our official plan does speak to solar and wind, but our zoning bylaw is really the decision. And if it's not listed in as an acceptable use in our zoning bylaw, you're looking at a zoning application or potentially an official plan, which you have to abide by the county and the town of Mono and all provincial policies. So yeah, it's unfortunate, Fred, that I had just returned from vacation and probably was 100 emails behind, and it's unfortunate that we didn't give a response to you. And that's definitely something from a customer service point of view that staff would look at least acknowledging a response to the deputy mayor. And I apologize for that. Okay. And we will move forward with a better solution to make sure that this is but I will say the amount of, hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do this? It's unbelievable. And the interest in establishing a residence, a home, a commercial business in Mono is at its peak, and we're doing our best to respond. Thank you.
Okay. Elaine and then Fred.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. And I know we do have service standards, and I know that we're very good at tracking to those. And I appreciate that. And to people who are not residents, who are inquiring about things like this, the process should be, if they contact each of us, to say, we should have a written statement. It's like if the media contacts you. You need to have a written statement that says, contact our planning department. Our priority is residents. Your request will be prioritized accordingly. Whatever that statement is, and that's it. That's my thought.
Fred,
you
go
need
ahead.
to come up with that statement.
Then we're going to wrap it.
Mike, I'm not being critical. I know how busy you were that week. And I will say, when this chap phoned, I had asked him, well, have you checked the zoning? He had not checked our zoning bylaw, which, I mean, so he was basically asking us, or me, to do some work that he wasn't going to do himself. I did just a very quick scan of our zoning bylaw, and I answered him within,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
a 3-sentence answer, which says, hey, it's not permitted. You're gonna probably need a zoning amendment.
My expectations and our shoulders are sitting here. We expect to hear from council. I believe that we provide a great service, and John and I have had these, sometimes things fall off there's just so many that sometimes you miss one, and I appreciate, staff appreciates hearing from council when we can do better, and we move on. Right?
And for those who may be listening, we do have a customer service standard. And there is a difference between acknowledging an inquiry and solving a problem. And
Right.
solving a problem doesn't necessarily occur immediately. Sometimes the inquiry leads to an interaction that solves the problem to the extent of providing the information requested, but sometimes the problem is not solved overnight. But I think at least we try to get back to people on a timely basis to acknowledge receipt of the inquiry. Melinda, then Elaine? Okay.
Thank you.
Elaine?
Thank you, Melinda. I guess what I am asking is for us to not give any information direction at all, other than to say, contact staff and direct them back to the experts, not for us to say, oh, I've checked the zoning bylaw and looked at this. No, I think we should stop doing that. We should give direction to whoever that person is to say, here's the contact, please direct your inquiry to them.
Excellent point. To Mike's point, I mean, when you said that, now it's at its peak for everybody wanting to come here, and I guess you see a lot of for sale signs, there's things changing hands and so on. Why is it that it's been said now by a couple of people during this little debate, why is it that it's like, oh, if it's not in the zoning bylaw, then, or if it's not in the zoning allowances, then you'll need to apply for an amendment. Why is that even said? Shouldn't it be said, no, it's not, if you're going to say it at all, no, geez, you don't do that here, go someplace else, right? Like it's just an observation that yes, to put forward a request for an amendment is a possibility, but should it really be the knee jerk to if we don't have it there? No, that land that's for sale is not zoned for chickens, let's not have them, right? I mean,
Right, and that's the part of my request that we said we would deal with later because we didn't have time to have that conversation. But Mike, you did bring it up. Our official plan speaks to wind and solar, so I'll have to go and look that up. But we're just right now talking about the process. If somebody reaches out to me and wants to do something here, I'm going to send them to the experts that sit at our town hall. So sorry about that, staff, but that's where I'm going to send them.
I think this is summarized by saying the less said, the better. And over to staff. I think that is the approach that we should take because we do have people who go on fishing expeditions and there is it is a reality that anyone can apply for anything. But to say that, it may give them a faint hope that we're going to go along with it. So maybe just saying that the zoning doesn't permit it or allowing staff to say that, which is even better, is the way to go.
Staff should give them the answer. We should not.
Right.
Not talk as experts to zoning and official.
Okay. So the second new business item was raised by Elaine Kehoe, and if I can try and summarize, you're looking for Mono residents to exhibit a public display of solidarity with Canadians in terms of how we're approaching the threats from our southern neighbor, whether it be flags at our gates or some other expression of support. Does that characterize it?
Yes, it does, and I think a Canadian flag should also be put on top here.
We have a Canadian flag, yeah. Yeah. So I think can we go away and think about whether we formalize this or whether we simply encourage individuals to do it?
That was not heard by the public, what Elaine said, because it wasn't on the microphone. And we didn't actually vote to add this to the agenda.
Elaine, would you like to come forward and just repeat that? Sorry. That's my fault.
It's a suggestion that council put forth perhaps in our website, in Facebook, etc., that the residents of Mono support Canada in this dispute that we currently have with the United States, and that we should go further and suggest that we buy local and support our community.
So we have passed a motion that deals with our procurement policies, and it's similar to that passed by many other municipalities, that we give preference to Canadian-made, Canadian-sourced items. And it's we've done it at the county as well. I think every municipality is in the course of doing that. Melinda?
Thanks, Elaine, for bringing this forward. I think Elaine, or Councillor Capes said there, we didn't vote on this. I do think that this is an important thing. I think it would be great to drive around Mono and see flags everywhere. We have a bylaw about what you can put out on your lawn and how big things can be and everything. So I think we would have to be pretty careful what it was that we encouraged people to do right off without looking at that first, I think. Because I remember when I replaced a sign, I was concerned and thought, oops, okay, make it smaller. And to clarify, the motion that we did bring forward did also have, that was a Councillor Mantelo's idea right off the bat when he was first elected in January. And the idea, the last sentence of that was that we encourage Mono residents as well, right? That we were going to have the staff do it, but that we encouraged everybody. But this flag idea is a great one, but I want to be careful that we're crossing our T's before we suggest something.
Okay. So if I could make a suggestion that maybe we go away and we give some thought to whether we make this more formal as a follow-through with Ralph's motion that we encourage Mono residents to adopt the position that we have as a town, and would welcome a motion from members of council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Elaine?
Thank you, and I just want to clarify, we're talking about flags, not signs. So there could be a differential there, I'm not sure. And I do think to remind the citizens of Mono that we did pass a motion is a good thing. And so, I think it's good to bring attention to that motion and encouraging people to support Buy Canada, but I don't think we should do more than that myself. People motivated to put up flags. People put up flags on Canada Day, things like that. Everybody where I live has a flag out for Canada Day. I think we're getting into muddy waters by telling people to fly flags. I don't know.
So I think the way we're going to leave this is that members of council are free to mull this over and bring forward a motion for future discussion.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, what's your perception? The Canadian flag was co-opted by sort of a right-wing segment of our population, and you'll see it driving around on trucks, etc. What's your perception of it? If I put this flag up on am I joining that group, or am I doing the broader thing you'd like me to do?
No.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, I do.
It's all about messaging.
But right now, we're in a struggle, our society, if the tariffs go through on April 2nd, we are going to be in a recession. I think we as Canadian people have to stand up for our rights as Canadians, and the flag has always represented our freedom. And that's all I'm suggesting is a flag by saying I'm supporting Canada, and we're not going to become another state.
I understand that. I was just asking, what was your perception when I fly a flag? Am I joining the right-wing group, or am I supporting all of Canada? It's a bit of a mixed message right now, unfortunately.
I think you're supporting Canada, but that again is my opinion.
Yeah.
But the flag has always represented us as Canadians across the provinces and territories.
I think it's fair to say that we've taken the flag back from the convoy people and the others who were using it in furtherance of right-wing ideas. I think most people, from my perspective, most people seeing it now see it very differently than what we saw in Ottawa during the convoy activities.
I would definitely agree with that statement.
Okay, thank you for the idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, have I done Schedule A? We have a motion to accept Schedule A to this agenda. Do I have a mover? Councillor Manctillo moves, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nix. Items on Schedule A that people want to address. Fred?
Just one, I just should point out, item number 6. I'm not thrilled with this, but I've been put on a committee, an advisory committee to this, this plan by TRCA to develop a management plan for Glen Haffey.
I'd like to discuss number 9.
Okay, number 9.
Number 9, please.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I just lost my screen. Can somebody else carry on for a minute?
Well, I could just point out this, going back to Elaine and I think Melinda's comment, I think you have to separate two issues here. And John will correct me if I'm wrong, but one is the building department, and Amaranth has left the county building department. 2 is planning. And I certainly understand Amaranth's motion here because there's been a feeling for some time in Dufferin, particularly with towns like Mono, not all municipalities in Dufferin, but Mono is perfectly capable of handling planning matters on its own. What the province has done to us is now we have duplication. We have county planning and we have Mono planning, and I, for one, support the motion that Amaranth passed. I don't think, and in fairness, in somewhere in Peel, they've taken planning away from the senior level of government and taken it back down to the local level of government. And I think that's what Amaranth was thinking of when they passed this motion. And I think it's got some good, not total support at county level, but certainly some support.
Go ahead.
So I'm wondering if you guys sit on county council, and maybe you're closer to the planning department than I am, but is there any downsides to this?
Well, let me back up about 30 years. Once upon a time, when Mark Earley was planner, we had to get certain things approved of by the province. They were basically our upper tier authority for certain planning matters. Because we had the expertise, and because Orangeville had planning expertise, we were allowed to do many of those things as a local tier municipality. Along comes the province, I don't know how many years ago, and says, okay, upper tier municipalities will have a planning function. And they created it pretty uniformly across the board. And that was in large part to do the, help me out with the name of the exercise that we just went through. Comprehensive planning. Then along comes an interesting change to that, where Premier Ford says, regions, we're going to repatriate planning to the local tier, and County of Simcoe. But then it's like everybody's head scratching, saying, how come the County of Simcoe is lumped in with the regions that all of a sudden are having to devolve their planning function to the local municipalities? So that's really what the genesis of this debate is. It has to do with duplication and to a certain extent expertise, and if it can be done in the regions, why can't it be done in the counties in addition to Simcoe County? Mike, does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, that was a good review of that history.
Now, if I could just add one thing, Your Worship. We're not quite the same as Simcoe County because there's some municipalities in Dufferin that wouldn't have the capability of doing planning. So you'd still probably need a planning department at the county level that would handle some of our lower tier municipalities, but certainly Orangeville, Shelburne, and Mono do not need a county planning department. I would particularly go back, Mike, you'll remember this, when we had our first comments on the development proposal on the second line. We wrote a proposal on that, and then the county wrote its comments, which were totally not useful. You know, that they had never mind. It's just pure duplication. We do not need a county planning department in the town of Mono.
Go ahead.
So you did. You didn't actually answer my question directly, but I think the answer is that there's nothing that they provide. But I noticed that Nicole and Martin in her last, second last paragraph, she said, "The planning department, the county serves a role in providing input and support to local municipalities, as well as completing regular conformity reviews and other studies." And do you feel that's valid?
Well, okay, I admit when it came to that very large municipal comprehensive review that John referred to, that was probably better done at the county level than
Correct.
having 8 municipalities do it all on their own. It would have been too, so there are certain things, but
But it's put to bed now. It's done.
yeah, yeah. So when we get a development proposal, I honestly don't think we need our planning department looking at it, and then the county planning department looking at it and saying such idiotic things like, make sure you don't duplicate any road names.
No, that's my perception as well, that our department can handle most of the things that it would have to handle, but will that, if everybody goes this route, will we lose the planning at the
No,
county?
quite the contrary, because the planning department at the county does planning for some of the local municipalities under contract. So not only do the municipalities not have the in-house capability, they rely on the county planning department to do their local planning. Mike?
Yeah, so the way, sorry, I haven't done a lot of research on this, but the way I read this, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, they've passed legislation that, or an OREG that, the county has to have an official plan, and then Amaranth goes on to say, but they don't need a planning department. Having said that, I've struggled with this too as well, Deputy Mayor Nix, is our planner and the applicant's planner have to adhere to the county official plan and the provincial policy statements. The town of Mono cannot be more permissive than those OPs. So if the county doesn't allow solar panels, we can't allow solar panels. If the province, I'm not 100% sure how the planning department really got created at the county, but yeah, it's a confusing, very confusing issue to me.
It got created because the province said they had to have one.
Well, and that contradicts sort of Amaranth's report. And that's what I haven't researched.
Right.
Because Amaranth says that the county has to have an official plan, but it doesn't say anything about creating a planning department. So that's a statement that I don't know, sort of opposite of what you've just said, Your Worship, is the province. I know the province, I've heard this sort of slang description is, the province doesn't want to talk to 8 lower tiers.
Yeah.
Right? They want to talk to one body, okay. So that, in a way, that sort of makes sense. It lessens their load, but it confuses it for the lower tiers.
Well, I've heard it a bit stronger, that the province will only talk to the upper tier.
Right, right. So
Which
maybe,
creates a problem for Mono, because if the
Yeah.
province won't talk to us
so maybe
on
Your
planning
Worship,
issues.
Your Worship is, and as a result of the MCR report that's just been completed, Town of Mono now has to come into line in compliance with the county MCR.
Yeah.
So we have to update
conformity exercise.
we have to come into conformity this year with the MCR because of the legislation. So it's but I will say one thing though, the emergency services, the way the county commented on line 2 developments that don't duplicate road names, it's always been Mono's responsibility at the time of, that's not done. Let's say Fieldstone, for example, we approved the road names at a committee level. I believe our Heritage Committee picked the road names with some good research. Those had to be submitted to the county emergency services to ensure that the 911 program would, and number one, we weren't duplicating Orangeville's
street names. So that process does happen. It's a fair comment. It seemed weak when we hadn't even had an application on the floor yet, but yeah, it is a fair comment, and it
Their
does.
second comment was make sure the ends of the roads in this proposed development, that we'd leave enough room for snow storage or whatever. I forget the exact wording. You don't think our planning department could have picked up on that? But anyway.
Oh, I tend to agree that I think we have duplication here, Deputy Mayor Nix.
So it will make an interesting debate at County Council. And given Amaranth's views on building inspection, it's all one and the same source. Anything on Schedule A?
Nothing else.
Anything more? Melinda, do you have anything on Schedule A?
No, those were the two that I wanted to talk about, the TRCA and the Amaranth one.
Elaine?
Thank you. I did want to mention that number 13, the resolution from the town of Bradford with regard to landlord-tenant reform. Just because I'm connected to a lot of people who deal with finding home for people and tenants and landlords and things like that, there definitely is a need for reform of that landlord-tenant process and relationship. So I don't know how we word that, but I would definitely want to support that they balance, that they implement these balance reforms to protect small-scale landlords and tenants and ensuring fairness in the rental market. I think that's very important, so.
Melinda?
Yeah, it was a very interesting cross-country checkup, or one of the CBC talk shows on the weekend that while I was driving, I was listening to, talking that the very thing about how we're being encouraged to, and there was also an article in the paper, the speaker that has been proposed to us, that I looked him up, and he built a laneway house. So I got thinking about this, and one of the big points that was brought up on this discussion about can you find an affordable apartment anywhere in Toronto, I think was the context. That landowners at the moment are in a catch-22 about being told that we need to increase density, and yet being nervous about getting involved because as a landlord you have no rights. You end up with the Airbnb situations with squatters, or the people with a laneway house with it. So I do think so, but I don't know whether. I agree that it'd be nice if things looked better for everybody, but I don't know whether our endorsement will make any, I say this all the time, I don't know whether it really furthers the ball, but I would have no objection if you wanted to put forward a support of Bradford. Because I think it's a quite topical, very topical, because again, everybody's talking about, we just need to build more houses. It's like, that's not the answer. $2 million houses are not the answer, not the answer.
So Elaine, would you like to move that we support Bradford? West Gwillimbury?
Yes, I would really like to do that. Thank you very much.
So Fred, our very general, we support motion?
That council for the town of Mono supports and endorses the resolution passed by the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, calling on the province to make landlord-tenant reforms.
Thank you. Is there any option, Elaine?
I so move. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davey, any opposition to the motion? Motion is carried. I'm wondering whether there's any appetite in joining Melanchthon in requesting our MPP to attend council and have a little chat with us. Councillor Simpson?
Maybe she would like to come to our May 10th town hall.
Fred, I elevated you to being a member of council.
I just wanted to point out to council, in conversations with the clerk of Melanchthon, they've passed this resolution a second time. on May 20th. And she told me that Melanchthon's council's intention is to pass this at every single meeting until MPP Jones shows up at council.
And given the fact that the mayor of Melanchthon has moved the same motion at the county, I suspect he's going to put us through that process as well. I'd like to support calling the MPP to attend a meeting of Mono Council, whether it be the town hall or a regular meeting of council. I can well remember when David Tilson used to come, Murray Calder, who was the federal member, used to come annually. It was a matter of routine, and other MPPs as well. So,
Your Honor, could you sort of elaborate a little bit on the, do we have some particular questions we want to ask her, or is there a particular function, or is this just her presence?
well, obviously she has a chance to say what she wants to say, and we have a chance to say what we want to say about any number of issues. Councillor Davey, then Councillor Capes.
That's not very specific, John.
Well, road
Thank
safety
you.
would be mine.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I mean, I think we need to be very careful, and I think that to be pugnacious and putting forward the same motion everywhere repetitively and so on. I mean, your point is.
I'm not suggesting that.
No, I think you're not. But I think Melanchthon's point is made, and I don't think we need to stoop is the word I'm going to use to that. I think an invitation to her would be great with a pointed question about the thing that is the most important, and I know to you, Mayor, it's our roads that seem to keep going unanswered. But I think that it's a slippery slope if we're trying to get involved in I know that she's our representative and so on, but I mean, municipal politics is different than provincial, as you know. So I think to extend an invitation and then see whether, with this present council, you can't talk about the history. We're asking you to come now about this question, and if you actually don't.
Oh, no, I think it should be a general invitation, and then if she accepts, we put our mind to what we are going to raise with her.
Okay, whichever, chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
But I don't know about making it a
Regular
meeting or whatever.
Oh, no, I think we do it once, and either she chooses to come or not. I mean, municipalities are creatures of the province, and she should do a checkup every once in a while on how the creatures are doing. Elaine?
Yes, thank you. And their motion from, that they've put on the table is asking her to come and update them on the priorities of the government. And for the council to be able to share their concerns. So I think that's open enough that we could have a very good conversation. And I do think that, the one time, I think it's a courtesy. We did just have an election. And so now as a courtesy, we would like to formally invite you to come to our council table and give us the government priorities and hear the concerns from our council. I think it's a great idea.
Are you so moving?
I shall so move.
Fred?
I apologize, I didn't realize there was a motion about to be put on the floor. What I was going to suggest is the government hasn't yet had a throne speech, so I'm not sure the government knows its priorities yet.
You're assuming they know them after the throne speech, too.
Well, so perhaps council wishes to wait until the government's priorities are stated in a throne speech, and then see if our MPP is willing to then come and discuss that.
I don't mind waiting, but I think we should do it at some point. Well,
I would like to say we get the invitation out now, so we're first in line, or second. Just so that, and at the time when she would come, then hopefully all the mandate letters have been issued and everybody's clear about what they're doing. And she can come and further clarify that for us, and we can share our concerns. So I don't know if we need to wait, we need to.
But they keep the mandate letters secret, so they can't tell us what's in the mandate letters. I agree with you. I changed my mind. I agree with you. I think we should do a general invitation to come to Mono Council. I'll second your motion. Ralph?
Your Honor, I disagree with you. I think it should be focused, and we should not do it right now. It sounds like we're just tagging on to the other municipality. I'd like to give it a little bit of space in between the two. But I think that, if she feels that there's some issues that we really want to hear from her about, I think that's going to be more meaningful to her than if she's just supposed to come and, show the flag sort of thing.
Well, I would anticipate between the acceptance of our invitation in general terms and the actual date, we would come up with a list. We'd come up with topics that we want to raise.
Okay, and we should indicate that.
And we should give her fair warning. These are the issues that are going to be raised by members of our council.
I think that'd make her want to respond.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Fred, if you can review the motion.
I believe the motion is that we invite MPP Jones to attend council.
Keep it as simple as that for the time being.
Yeah, unless you want to expand on that.
Also move, thank you.
I so second. Thank you. Okay. If there's no opposition, the motion is carried. Oh, pardon me. Fred?
So, Your Worship, will you be making that invitation to the MPP?
If you'll write the letter, I'd be happy to sign it.
Discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, the discussion. I think, it's such a terse little invitation. I think we should give her some meat. In other words, to discuss items of mutual interest or just add something a little bit more onto it.
Can I suggest that members of council communicate their particular topics to me, and I can include them in the letter as areas that may be raised? Okay. Would people be agreeable to that?
Sure. When would you need this?
Oh, a week or two?
Okay.
Yeah. How's that? If you trust me not to put all my issues up front, I'll try and be as measured as I can. Okay, anything else on Schedule A? Okay. Elaine?
Just to add to what you just said about issues, after May 10th, we may know more about what our constituents' issues are that we could ask on her behalf, so that maybe we extend this invitation openly and say that we would like to schedule this, in convenience with her schedule for sometime in June. Just thinking.
I think getting the invitation out early sends a signal that is worthy of being expressed. And maybe I can put some language in there to the effect that we are having a town hall meeting in May, and that we could revise the list of potential issues after that meeting with the intent of doing something in June. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, reports of members of council and staff. I'll start with Les at the end.
I have nothing for you this meeting, Your Worship.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you. I have a few things here. I noted to council there last week that the Public Works had a failed cross culvert last week. We've since replaced it. We'll likely have to close the road again sometime in the summer to do a more permanent repair. In the meantime, it's convey and flow. There's some beaver dams and whatnot wreaking havoc throughout town, but we're managing to stay ahead, so that's a positive note. And the culvert was on tap to be replaced this year. It was part of the 2025 capital budget. Bridge 5 tender was released today. and it'll be open for 3 weeks. We plan on closing it on April 15th. Public Works also released an RFQ for the geotechnical work for the gravel roads, Mono-Agila Town Line, further to the petition that was received last year in around October. So we've received some good quotes from geotechnical engineers for assessing those conditions, and part of that report will focus in on some areas of the town line and give us some recommendations on what we could do to potentially improve conditions. So we'll be bringing a report back, or I'll be bringing a report to council in the coming weeks for that. I mentioned to council a few meetings ago that we had tendered and issued approval to proceed for tandem plow truck and single axle plow truck in 2023, March 2023. We still have not received those trucks. They were supposed to be delivered in March this month. We've since had more delays, so now we're looking maybe April. We're hopeful that will continue. They'll be here soon because we're patching the existing fleet right now. It's getting expensive repairing. So I also had mentioned the council will likely be coming to council next year, a year in advance, so we could plan accordingly for those 2-year delays. Calcium has been ordered and is expected to commence in early May, weather permitting, and street sweeping has been lined up for the 2nd week of April, weather permitting as well. So that's all I have for now.
Okay. Questions, Elaine?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Matt, for that great update, and thank you again for the fabulous service that the crews are providing and have been providing, and it's been like a crazy winter. Anyway, I just have a question about if people ask me when and if, because I don't know the answer to this, if their mailbox was taken out accidentally by all the snow that got pushed through them, because it was a lot of snow this year, and they have a temporary installed mailbox by the town, does the town come and reinstall their post for their original mailbox, or is that up to the homeowner?
Thank you, Councillor Capes. Public Works encourages residents to improve their mailbox situation, that constantly maintain it. We do get to them as soon as we can, right after we become aware of damaging it. To your question about whether we come back, yes, we do come back during the wintertime. We do, if we can fix it permanently, we will when we come out. But a lot of times due to snow and frost in the ground, we will put a temporary post in. The work order remains open until it's fixed permanently. But we do encourage residents to maintain and inspect their mailbox post and box over the summer months to make sure it could endure the snow impacts from the snow. This year obviously was a challenge, but a lot of the posts that we replaced this year or have to replace were due to, they age, right? And they're exposed to the elements all the time, and a lot of them aren't pressure treated and they do fail. So just like everything else, they need to be maintained. So it would do us a lot of help, Public Works a lot of help, if we had the assistance from residents to help maintain those posts and boxes.
Yeah, and I think this year there was like, when there's a big hill and it's just one big rolling push of snow, sometimes, because there was a lot of snow, there's nothing anybody could do except, that's what happened. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And it's a balance, right? Because our plow operators are trying to get as close as they can to the mailbox. They're trying to maintain the road as quickly as they can. We want to get as close to the box so people could get their mail, but at the same time, residents cleaning in around their mailbox would also help staff with having the issue of trying to get too close to maintain the mail delivery and damaging the box. So.
Well, and hopefully some of the new posts put in are put in properly. I mean, if your mailbox was taken out because the post was too close to the road, for goodness sakes, don't put the new post in where the old post was. Like, make certain that it, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
theory of mine.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Crowman. So, Public Works does have the Canada Post rural mailbox guidelines on the town's website, where we are going to elaborate a little bit more on the urban or the communal mailboxes, because Public Works does not maintain the snow areas around those communal mailboxes. But there are guidelines on the town's website. There's a link to the Canada Post that says how high the offset from the road, what all the criteria for the mailbox location and whatnot. So we encourage people residents to look at the website and try to comply with that. And again, do the maintenance and help us out. And
Melinda, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Matt, in just that comment about the community boxes, if the town doesn't maintain them, who does maintain them? Is the post office?
Yep, thanks, Councillor Davey. The Canada Post organizes a private contractor to maintain and around those mailboxes.
That's good to know, because I've encountered a number of people who think that we do it, and when it's not done, they say, why haven't you done it? Okay. Kim?
Thank you, Your Worship. Couple of things to report. One is last Friday, the Recreation Department and RAC ran our spring euchre, which was a holdover from Valentine's euchre, because unfortunately, due to weather and low attendance, we kept having to cancel and postpone. So we finally got to hold it on Friday night at Menorah. We had 36 people in attendance, and I have to admit, we all had a great time. It was a lot of fun. So we missed Deputy Mayor Nix, but I'm sure we'll see him at the next one. So it was a lot of fun. Also on Friday, Town of Mono, we put a team together composed of Recreation Department employees that did represent us for the Mono in Motion at the Big Brothers Big Sisters fundraiser at the Best Western, so they were quite happy to see us. And I'm happy to report that we did raise $400 to go towards Big Brothers Big Sisters. So a huge thank you to Nancy and all of the people who put that fundraiser on. It was a lot of fun, and would certainly look at attending that again. Next thing is just talk a little bit about the Make Mono Shine, as I mentioned earlier in answer to some questions. And as indicated on Recreation Committee minutes, we've changed up Make Mono Shine a bit this year. And rather than having the event, which unfortunately attendance has been declining over the last couple of years that we've had it, and in recognition of the cost, this year we're going to still put it out there for Let's Make Mono Shine, and we're going to recognize Earth Day, April 22nd. So for 1 week prior to Earth Day and 1 week following Earth Day, so from the 15th to the 29th, we encourage residents to come to the office where we've made Make Mono Shine garbage stickers, and we will give each household a maximum of 3 stickers and garbage bags and gloves to go with it. And we encourage them to go out and pick up garbage in the parks, trails, out in front of their properties, that kind of thing. And then GFL will come along and pick that up. So, and we'll look after the cost for the stickers that we hand out. So we are encouraging people. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully people will help us with making Mono Shine between April 15th and 29th. And the last thing is just to let you know that in your, on Schedule A, you'll see that there was a report from TRCA regarding that they are coming up with a management plan. I have been asked to represent Mono on that management plan, and I will be bringing you updates as necessary. So your first update is what you see on Schedule A.
Question?
Yes.
Kim, could you elaborate a little bit? So if I come here I'll get 3 bags with some stickers, and what do I do with them when they're full?
Sorry, good question. Yes, just put it out with your regular garbage with the tag on it, and it will be picked up.
Thank you. Fred?
So since council started, I've heard back from the representatives for the Sikh Heritage Month flag raising, and they've requested a change from April 1st to Thursday, April 17th at 11 a.m. So we will be publishing that's the new date for the flag raising. The noise bylaw will be coming back to council on the April 8th meeting. I have a delegation scheduled by CVC to explain to council their issues and concerns, followed by a second opportunity for residents to make their views and opinions known to council. And then following that, we'll schedule an opportunity for council to really dig into the meat and bones of the bylaw to make changes based on all of the input they've heard to that date.
Okay.
The firearms discharge bylaw the survey, the online and hard copy survey, will be hitting the streets shortly. It'll be mailed out to all households and will be available for people to fill out up until mid-May. So again, hard copy and online as per level 3 of council's public engagement policy. So that'll be going out soon, and mid-May when we'll close that off and bring that information back to council. And finally, I know council is aware that MC Squared has recommended a guest speaker for the town hall on May 10th, Dr. Franz Hartmann from the Alliance for a Livable Ontario. I don't know if council wants to give their concurrence or their approval to that recommendation.
Melinda?
Yeah, I think we need to discuss, this. I know that we have said that it would be really nice to have somebody help organize our town hall, but I'm feeling like perhaps this isn't the best use of the time when we really want to hear from residents about mono concerns.
Well, I think we've made it very plain to MC Squared that the presentation portion of the meeting is short and sweet, and we have to have enough time for give and take from the audience. It is their meeting, so I guess that to a certain extent they can invite who they want, but I would hope that we're not looking at much more than 20, 30 minutes of a presentation, and then the balance of the meeting devoted to the residents of Mono being able to talk with us and talk amongst themselves. Elaine? Oh, go ahead, Melinda.
Just follow up to that then. I mean, your comment about that it's their meeting, like I thought that, yeah, so that's where I'm just a little not on board with it, not understanding. That is it us offering a town hall and that we were looking for some assistance, or is it that we're guests at somebody else's meeting just to hear what the residents have to say?
Well, I think it is a good question. I think it is that we are partnering and they are hosting on our behalf, which they do this quite a bit, and they've done it mostly in Mulmer for years and years and years and years. And so, and then there was talk about doing this with previous council, and that never happened because something came up with a big C. Anyway, so it didn't go forward. But I think it's great, and I think that having a speaker such as this will maybe give people something to anchor their own comments on, or their own questions on, or their own concerns on to present to us. So I agree with the mayor that it should be a condensed, like 20 minutes, half an hour max of somebody presenting, and it's on their dime, not ours. And that, you know, it may attract more residents to come out to hear it and to know that they're getting something for that as well, and as well as an opportunity to talk to us. But that's, I think it's good.
Ralph?
So when the town of Mono has a town hall and they have somebody speaking, it's assumed that they know something about this person and that they're going to be acceptable to the town. And so I'd like to know a little bit more about them. Anybody tell me?
Fred, can we circulate a description of who this individual is? And
I believe council has a copy of a very short bio on Dr. Hartzman that was sent out to council last week. I will recirculate that though, so you have an idea.
Did you send it?
I guess I overlooked it, so.
I don't remember seeing it.
It was very short, which got me to go to Google, where I found out some things, and that's why I say that this person is renowned and lots of, you know, great, but really more of an urban set. Like it didn't to me didn't seem to really be with where we are at this moment in Mono and Mono's concerns. But it would certainly be interesting. Are they coming to see an interesting topic, or are they coming because it's Mono's town hall and they want to talk to the councillors? That's my question.
I could read if you want, Your Worship. It is a short bio that was sent to me. If you want, I can read it out.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Franz Hartman is the coordinator of the Alliance for a Livable Ontario. Before this role, Hartman was the executive director of the Toronto Environmental Alliance, the TEA, for 11 years. He also served as the chair of the Ontario Greenbelt Alliance for 4 years and helped the Alliance build vast community support for the Greenbelt. Prior to working at TEA, Hartzman was an environmental advisor to Jack Layton when he was a city councillor and oversaw Layton's civil society engagement activities in Ottawa.
Okay. Is there any way of suggesting to MC Squared that they encourage their speaker to do some research on Mono and speak to what they believe some of our challenges and issues are, as opposed to talking about downtown Toronto?
I'd certainly pass that along to MC Squared, Your Worship.
I mean, he's free to talk about anything he wants, but I think to make it really relevant, the best speakers will do their homework before taking a gig like this.
We'll make sure Fred sends that 1996 document that Councillor Capes was talking about last week, the stewardship document. It's a good starting spot, I think, for the research.
Yeah. And I agree with the half hour. I mean, I remember one town hall where we had somebody drone on for an hour and a half about electric vehicles. And and there was almost no time left for a resident to ask a question of council, and I think that was that's not the direction we need to go. Okay, Elaine?
No, I agree with you, and I think that's right. It made me laugh because poor Ralph is sitting there because he supports the electric vehicle like crazy, so like, anyway. NDAC used to do this when they held their public meetings. They would have a guest speaker. And yes, it was always relevant to what the issue was. So I think it's you know, they're thinking outside the box, and I think it's great that we'll have the opportunity to hear from the speaker as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, in the context of Mono.
Okay. So Fred, anything else?
No, that's all, Your Worship.
Thank you. Mike?
Thanks, Your Worship. I have a small list. Council will recall I did send out the notice of dismissal of the Aragon's actions to add further information to the previous OLT decision with the event of success of their application. So that was dismissed by the OLT. The MECP letters that surrounded the environmental compliance and the municipal responsibility agreement. Council, and that letter's been been uploaded to the planning sections of the website. Matt and I and Sylvia in the water department spent about 7 hours on Friday going over the entire 10-year plan for the rate studies that are coming up. So with the increased inspections and all the works that have occurred and the history that Matt and I have, we've got a very detailed 10-year plan with respect to the required works now with our reservoir and our water tower inspections. Matt and I spent some really good time that'll give the town the really good information with respect to end of life, failure dates of assets, and put together an appropriate rate study.
Mike, are you anticipating that with all this new data that the water rates are going to increase significantly, or do we know yet?
I think council will be presented with an appropriate plan to maintain the assets over the next coming 10 years.
Sure
that
they
will not go down in price. The rates will not go down in price.
Will
so,
they go up significantly?
council will be presented with that as it comes, and staff will try to manage that. Staff will try to manage that in line with how council has been over the last 20 years. You know, you've been very responsible to your residents, and staff have also been cognizant of that. And Matt and I will try and come out with a 10, 20-year proposal that works for maintaining the potability of our water at the forefront and maintenance of our assets as well.
You should be a politician.
That was good. That was good.
It's a fine line between CAO, I guess, and council. It's a short distance between these two desks. Deputy Mayor Nix and I have been talking with the county a little bit on some DEI training. We're waiting to hear back from Mr. Thompson with respect to training, but when we start to, and I had a meeting with the CAO at Deferred. I think they're doing spurts with respect to their training. They're doing some council training. They're doing some management training and staff training. It's proving to be a costly venture, I think, and we'll continue to take advantage of what we can within the confines of the budget we have. Something for council to be aware of. Just finished a minor site plan amendment with respect to the Athletes Institute, Pretty River Investments on Highway 9. They're changing out their grass surface to an AstroTurf or a turf surface this summer, and that will, all the approvals are in place. The applicant has put in appropriate documents and approvals, mainly the MTO. But the reason I'm triggering it with council is that there'll be a significant importation of aggregate, specialized aggregate for the drainage of this surface. So all from an approved pit, obviously, but there will be a significant number of trucks, and the MTO has signed off on approval of that already. So, but that'll be. I'm not sure of the start date, but we've been working on that for a couple months.
Does that trigger our fill by law?
No, because it's a confusing site. There's 3 active site plan agreements with respect to the dorms, the dome, and the, oh, Kim, help me out, racquetball inside the Athletes Institute in Axe. Well, yeah, so they have a variance. So they have 3 site plans agreements with the town. And because of that, as identified in our current fill bylaw, they're exempt from, but this is virgin specialized aggregate coming for drainage and so forth, and it'll be, but it's not something you can buy in mono anyway. So they are exempt from our fill bylaw because of the site plan agreement, and this being a minor site plan agreement. I had discussions with the county about dissolving our health and safety agreement, which we currently pay around $9,000 to the county for those services. The county's pretty busy in their health and safety department. The town of Mono and the town of Orangeville are the only 2 lower tiers in the county that are required to have a joint health and safety committee because of our staff numbers. I've been running this successfully, and Les was the management rep. We've been running this successfully for 20 years. It's starting to become apparent that we can stand on our own, and I'll put together a recommendation letter for council because the agreement is with council, obviously. But I'm looking to move away from that platform. It's not required anymore. So now that we're up and running and we're required to be certified ourselves. Spoke to the mayor about this on Thursday or Friday. Line 2 Developments will be taking the town of Mono to the OLT for lack of decision with respect to their development. I know it's a shocking statement, but I wanted to bring council up to date. They had stated, because there's litigation, Councillor or Deputy Nix, I just want to give a limited discussion. They did state to council that they heard the residents and the council loud and clear that they would go back to the drawing board with respect to that application. And we did have one subsequent meeting with them that we believed was very fruitful or very progressive. And we were awaiting for comments from the applicant with respect to what they believed to be the best way forward for that process. And unfortunately, that never came. And unfortunately, there's been no discussion with town staff. And unfortunately, they'll be taking us to the OLT. So as we move further with this, we'll definitely.
But technically, there's no application before us.
There is an application before us.
The original one.
The original application. And technically, council heard, and I'll go on record to say this, council heard that they were going back to the drawing board to come back with a solution. So the looks on your faces is exactly how staff felt last week. So we'll be moving through this process. And
Can I just ask the clerk whether there is an opportunity to amend our motion for in-camera items to have a 5-minute discussion of this, as it has a legal consequence?
Absolutely. No? Sorry, I'm not the clerk.
He doesn't look happy.
It's, of course, it's up to council to set their and follow the agenda. It's not advised, but that's what council wants to do.
I just think there are things that need to be said to put this into context that really should be said in camera.
So the only thing I need to mention is it's not actually the appeal has not even been received
by
the OLT yet.
No.
They have not acknowledged acceptance of an appeal.
Okay, Melinda?
I was just going to say that, again, this is kind of speaking back to my comment earlier about when you get a phone call, how quickly do you need to respond? I mean, this is information. I don't know that we need to get alarmed about it. It's information, and there's plenty of time to put it on an in-camera at the next meeting, I think.
I'm fine with that. I just didn't want any of us to say anything that would be inappropriate, because I'm very tempted.
Yeah, sorry, Your Worship, I wanted to, I did neglect to say that we have received notice and the clerk can help me on this, but it's unfortunate when somebody takes us to the OLT, the town is tasked with 30 hours of preparation of the submission of the documents. So the clerk's department and the planning department have been bogged down and will be putting all the which includes the attendees at the public meetings and everything. It just, it's a big ongoing process for the clerk's department now. Most importantly, on your agenda, item number 5, I believe it was, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Center Dufferin Recreation Complex, the Malmer Honeywood Arena. You maybe ask why I would be talking about the Malmer issue. I'm a resident of Malmer. However, kids in Mono, adults in Mono utilize the Honeywood Arena for skating. They've been accepted as one of the final four for the Craft Hockeyville, which, should they win, brings them up to a maximum grant of $250,000 towards the arena. And as I noted, Mono residents and Mono adults will definitely use this arena at one point in their life, and it's a very important thing. Voting's unlimited. It's on April 4th and April 5th. You can vote as many times as you want. You'll no doubt see the presentations this Saturday night on CBC Hockey Night in Canada. That's where they outline the four finalists, and it's a very important thing for the sustainability of the Honeywood Arena. So, if you get a chance on April 4th and 5th, by all means, support your local recreation facilities.
I have it diarized.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. Mike, that's it?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I don't have anything to say. We had a RAC meeting and a fire board meeting, and things are all perking along. There was supposed to be a Dufferin, Centre Dufferin meeting tonight, recreation, but apparently that's been postponed because we don't have quorum. So yeah, things are just perking along at the minute. Nothing big to report.
Thank you. Elaine?
Yes, thank you. And so, yes, I was in attendance at the Rosemont District Fire Board meeting, and I think I would like to mention two things. Number one is that our meetings are open to the public. However, when I checked on our website, when you see all the meetings listed, and I looked at today on the day that the meeting was happening, that meeting was not listed. Now, I don't know if we've got a broken chain of communication between the person who takes care of, like, the secretary from the fire department, and not informing the town of Mono of the date of the meeting, but perhaps we can look into that, because I expected to see it there. And I believe that all of our committee and board meetings are publicly notified in our calendar on our website. So I'll talk to the secretary there and make sure that that information gets over to, I guess, to the clerk.
I received notice of those, but the town has never, in my experience, posted the agendas of independent boards. We, with the exception of the Police Service Board when that was our board. We don't
Right.
post the agendas of, we rely on, the board's is its own legal entity, and they have means of posting those, but we've never posted the actual agendas of those.
Okay.
And some of them we get in a timely manner. It depends on the board, and some we don't necessarily get. It's an informal information process where my office is copied on it, as opposed to minutes, which is much more formal.
Right, well, thank you for that clarification, but could we just put the date? Like, we don't have to put the agenda, but just so that our residents know that there is a meeting, because there was a comment that, well, we don't have any public, and it's a public meeting, so I just wondered about that. We can talk about that.
Fred, anything?
No, I'm not,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Elaine.
Your worship. The other thing that did come up at the fire board meeting was a conversation about all the different options we could choose for fire service across Dufferin. It doesn't seem that there's been the same level of communication with all fire chiefs across Dufferin County, and that individual municipalities are making statements, putting out motions, doing all kinds of things, but there's no cohesive dialogue happening with regards to that county report. And that's, it's kind of like, we're gonna throw this against the wall and see where it sticks. There's no leadership, there's no accountability for what happens next. This is my feeling, and so it's kind of like, you know, I think it needs a leader, it needs a champion, it needs something, it needs some direction by somebody, somewhere.
Okay, well, the chiefs do get together. They do have meetings amongst themselves now. And
Yes, but it's
I would think we
there-
would be looking to them for some guidance, frankly.
Yes, we did ask our chief to report back to us after reviewing with others. But still, this is not on the fire chief's to-do list. This was a county action, and the county needs to, I think, have the conversation, bring all of the people together to have this conversation about the proposed changes to fire service, because the public needs to know, the fire chiefs need to be involved, and so we took an issue of a report and just threw it out there. So I'm not at all impressed with how this is being handled.
Mike?
Councillor Cape, so if I may, so the county doesn't provide fire service. The county wants out of this situation that they're in. So putting this back on the county is exactly where we were weeks ago, months ago, years ago. How this got to the county, I believe it was through Melanchthon. But the county, I don't believe is moving forward. This provision of fire services is not under their regiment. What I committed to council a couple meetings, or maybe the last meeting, and you'll start to get the board members for Rosemont and Shelburne. You'll start to get meeting requests from my office in the next couple days or so. I want to sit down with the four of you, or the three of you. Sorry, I'm forgetting who's on. Melinda's double. Councillor Davey is double board member. So the three of you, I want to sit down with the three of you. I'll do it in 2 meetings because I can't do all 3 at once. But I want to sit down with the three of you. I want to get sort of set the concerns for the board members for the town of Mono to discuss what we feel about the county program, what we feel about hearing from our 2 chiefs, and try and set some clarity for the town of Mono with how we close or open up this issue with respect to Deputy Mayor Nix's comments on level of services we require. The certifications and training that are required, and most importantly, from a CIO perspective and the treasurer perspective, is budget review, budget and Shelburne. The concerning part is the new fire building. So those are meetings I'd really like to have with the current board members, and that may result in the board members asking the chiefs to come present an overview to this council. So that, I think, is the avenue that we should align with. Is let's get our board priorities set, and let's move forward that way.
Elaine?
Right, thank you, Mike, for setting the leadership for this, because that's how I said, there's really, everybody's kind of, it's not mine, like I have my say, I have my opinion, but there's no leadership in having the dialogue, so I really appreciate that, and thank you for reminding me, yes, that it's not the county did this because somebody pushed for it, but the county doesn't provide fire service, and so therefore it's not really their issue to deal with. So thank you for providing the leadership, because I think it is much needed. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anything else? That leaves me.
That's it for me, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nothing to report other than in the wake of the provincial election, I'm crafting letters to the ministers that we have attempted to interact with, congratulating them on re-election, reappointment, and restating all of the things that we've been saying to them for, these many years. Hopefully they are invigorated by their new position, old position, actually, in both instances, and we can get a debate and a dialogue going on the issues that we've raised with them. So that's it for me. Notices of motion? Oh, sorry. Oh.
You missed Fred and Ralph.
Okay, Fred and Ralph.
We're not very important.
Sorry, I was trying to mix it up with our counselors on. Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, I had two items, but I know I had a third. I'll just comment on the fire issue. First of all, it's not up to the fire chiefs to determine the governance model. It's up to the councils. All councils in Dufferin County have passed motions on what they see as the proper governance model, and my observation simply is, if you put all those motions together on the table, they're incompatible, and the county is not going to take a lead. So I don't know where we go next. Okay, the two items I was going to mention, we can talk about that more, Mike. The two items I was going to mention is I went to a Credit Valley Conservation Board meeting last week. Nothing terrible to report, but I will tell the NVCA representative and the rest of you, this is what struck me. One of the things discussed is all the changes that have occurred in what conservation authorities are allowed to do in terms of both regulatory powers and in terms of their spectrum of interest. And I'll just give you this example. If you go back 20 years ago, when the mega quarry in Melanchthon was on the table, it was the Conservation Authority, the mega quarry in Melanchthon. It was the Conservation Authority, the NVCA, that was in effect the lead agency in reviewing the application. I'm not sure for permitting reasons, but they were the lead agency because they could comment on natural heritage issues, and they were the ones that hired the consulting engineering firm to look at the applicant's studies, and they led the charge. And eventually the applicant walked away. What a difference we have today when down in Caledon we have this St. Mary's Cement, Canadian Building Materials, CBM, joint proposal for an enormous 800-acre quarry where they're going to be blasting the limestone or the dullstone out right just north of the Forks of the Credit Park. And what I found interesting is that, because I asked Credit Valley, given all the changes in the Conservation Authorities Act and the regulations, what role does CVC have in that application? The answer is zero. They have no power. Conservation authorities now have to limit their perspective to hazard lands only. That's it, okay? The second meeting that we had, which was interesting, was the Headwaters Streams Committee meeting. Headwaters Streams Committee had a meeting last week. And again, I'm not the technical expert here. This is to do with the piece of property just south of the Turnbull farm, the property that has a couple of ponds that are just south of John Creelman's property. And Laura Wensick, I hope I pronounced her last name right, Wensick, from the NVCA, gave us all the technical data they've been collecting from the little things you put in the street that measure flow and temperatures, whatever those things are. Very interesting. Now, they have not come up with a solution yet, but what impressed me is that one pond, there's one pond that's too warm. Brook trout can't live in it. The next pond is getting too warm from that pond. What they're looking at is that they have two streams feeding into it. One is nice, cold spring water. What they're looking at is if there's a way they can somehow put a berm to create a cold channel through the one pond, so brook trout then can have the full range of that creek. Again, no solutions are on the table. This is a big project. I personally think, Mike and Fred, that they're going to run up against some. This is going to, I think, if they go ahead with the solution I think they're looking at, run up against our fill bylaw, and it could be fairly major. I think too that they have no idea how much this is going to cost. What the thing, we have the experience in Headwaters streams because we did the Baker Pond, and we know how much that cost. It costs a lot of money to dig that new stream channel. So, but I just thought I should tell you, it's the Bruce Trail, I'm not allowed to mention that word. It's the owner of that land in the Headwaters Streams Committee and the NVCA that are working on that project and seeing if they can do something. That's all I have to report.
Ralph.
The Mona Pollinator Garden had their annual general meeting and the board meetings 2 weeks ago. The garden's going ahead quite well. I have good feelings about it. I don't want to discuss any particular details. The biggest part of is garden care and maintenance, and we have an ongoing volunteer recruitment program for that, and it's moderately successful. We get a number of new volunteers every year, and a number go off the end because we're all getting older. But I think things are going well. We'd also have a new person on education. You know, the real reason for this garden is education. It's all about trying to stimulate people to think a little bit more about pollinators and understand what supports them and why it's important. And so I'm optimistic about this. And children's education really was the beginning. Before COVID, we had a great children's education program with Amaranth at the school there. And that has not had trouble picking it up. And the reason for having trouble with it is primarily because we need to have somebody at Amaranth which is very supportive, and they partner with us. But we're working on it. We're getting a lot of other information from homeschooling and recently from the Girl Guides. So we're hoping that this will allow us to extend our educational program. We have one thing happening. It's on July the 6th. It's going to be an unveiling. You know, I kind of like unveilings. And this is an unveiling of a sculpture which was donated, I think it's public knowledge, Marianne Nguyen and...
Sorry, who?
Marianne Nguyen. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Well, it's Three Adams, or Marianne Nguyen.
Michael
Nguyen.
Adams and Marianne.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we're having that on July 6th. They made the donation, and we've created a particular mound with the money they've donated, created the sculpture, which is, at the moment is veiled, but we're going to unveil it, and plantings, etc. So that's going to be a chance for us all to get together and have a chance to meet each other. And they're relatively new Monoites, and they're quite interested in being a part of the community. So that's July the 6th, and anybody can come to it. We're going to have a luncheon afterwards, which will be a self-pay luncheon, and I'll tell you more about it at the time.
Okay. So that brings us to notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Seeing none. I have a motion that council move into a closed session pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended at 2:15 in the afternoon for committee applications, Sections 239, subsection 2, subsection B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Mactilo moves, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nix. And if we can now go in camera.
We are back live.
Thank you for that. I have a motion that we rise from an in-camera session at 12:34 PM, and that we appoint Donna Coulter to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor Nick, seconded by Elaine Capes. Any opposed? And that motion is carried. I have a further motion that we introduce and give the necessary readings to a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Mono in Session 6-2025, held on 25th of March, 2025, that it be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed and engrossed in the bylaw book. I have a mover for that. Councillor Magdalow moves, seconded by Councillor Capes. Any opposition? Seeing none, it carries. And finally, I have a motion that we adjourn this meeting at 12:34, moved by Deputy Mayor Nix, seconded by Elaine Capes. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for